going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show presented by Jock Market. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D. As always, joined by Adam Scherer, Ship My Money DFS, getting some of that NHL action in today, trying to revive some of that magic back from the All-Star break a couple of years ago. What's good, brother?
Yeah, excited for my first NHL slate in a while. I hadn't been playing much because it's just really tough to play that and NBA with all the news, especially with all the COVID shit. But yeah, 2-game basketball slate today, so back in the NHL streets.
What's it like crunching lineups for that? Is it similar to football from a stacking standpoint when you have to build groups and everything?
It's more similar to baseball,
Okay.
But it also takes a long ass time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever crunched hockey lineups, but
like there's ways to make it go faster, but then they're more like labor intensive. Like you have to actually like set each team to crunch and everything. So like that's what I've been doing today because I didn't have anything better to do. But like when there's more basketball games, it's just like you're trying to like just let Fantasy Cruncher run and work on basketball.
Right.
And then you come back and it's like, oh, cool. It built 50 lineups in the last 20 minutes.
How often do you play NHL? Is it every night still?
It hasn't been. I was playing every night at the beginning of the year. And then it just got to like, I was either messing up my hockey lineups or my basketball lineups like basically every night. And I was like, all right. Once guys started getting scratched constantly for COVID, I was like, I don't know enough about hockey to make swaps. So I'll stop for a bit.
All right. Well, we got 2 games. 2 games. That's it. Knicks, Minnesota, Warriors, Pistons, 16-point spread. Is my volume that low, or is it just like random people that say that, Jordan? I mean, let me see. I'm all the way up, man. All the way up. Yeah, I mean, I can try a little bit. No, I'm cranked.
Try speaking with your chest. Maybe it's not the mic's fault.
What does that even mean?
It's from something. I can't remember what it's from.
Speak with your chest?
No, say it with your chest, but I don't remember. I think it's a Kevin Hart bit. Jordan saying yes.
Kevin Hart. Yep.
Yeah.
It is. Jordan would know. That's like his style of comedy. Kevin Hart, Dane Cook. You know, those type of guys. Hey, Dane Cook was big for a moment there, Jordan. Don't knock it. No, I'm just kidding. Been listening to a lot of Tony Hinchcliffe lately. You know who that is?
You're talking to me or Jordan?
Yeah.
No.
Just absolute wild man. I prefer the irreverent comedians that just say whatever they want. But
I mean, you know my favorite Jeselnik.
Yeah, I mean that. I sent you that roast of the Jeselnik did, right? Where I forget which one it was, but it was insane.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember who it was, but I remember watching it.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, but anyway, okay. So it's Kevin Hart. Say it with your chest. Raymond, do your best Billy Mays impression. Do you remember that guy that came in here with the ShamWow? Didn't we ban him, Jordan?
Oh yeah, I think so. I forgot about that.
Why did we ban him? Oh, okay.
So why did we ban him?
See, that's where you need to pop up on the producer cam. We're going to get this down. This is going to be just a synergistic thing here where I don't have to say a word and you're just going to be right there. It's going to be great. Don Rickles. Yeah, Rickles. Okay. He was in Dirty Work with Norm and Artie. Isn't it amazing, by the way? And don't worry, we'll get into this in a second. We only got 2 games. I know you're not huge into the comedy thing. You were a Norm guy, and I know you binged a lot of that stuff after he died. We see like Bob Saget. Just isn't it amazing that Artie Lang is somehow still alive?
Yeah, I would just have guessed that he had died like 15 years ago.
I think a lot of people assume that he did.
Right, like if you had just said that to me, like, and just like said in a sentence, and then Artie Lang had died 8 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, I remember that.
Right. Yeah, like a Belushi or a Farley or anything like that. Artie went the same way, but he didn't. He's still kicking. He's back with that busted up nose doing a podcast. Big Artie fan, back in the Stern days. Anyway, man, we got 2 games. Hit that thumbs up too if you haven't done so yet. We're up over 100. Appreciate you guys for that. Much appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. We're going to do everything. We're going to break down every piece of these games. And as you know, with like football showdown, with NFL showdowns, whenever we do, like Josh and I did a ton of NBA showdown slates back for in the finals and the playoffs. With that type of stuff, you just have to get into the weeds. You can't just gloss over things. I can't just throw it down and be like, all right, talk to me about this team and then go down. Hey, he's all right. We got to really get into it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. But yeah, hit that thumbs up. Greatly appreciated. It helps us more than you think. We got to feed the algorithm here on YouTube. I don't make the rules, but unfortunately, sometimes we got to play by them. Subscribe. And if you want to join the team, get the custom emojis, those sweet badges next to some of those names, free super chats each month. What else? Oh yeah. And we'll always prioritize your questions and comments as long as with our Discord members. Jordan, we're about to have it where we can pop the comments up on the screen, right? Yeah, that's soon. We're going to have that soon. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right. So yeah, do all that fun stuff. Thank you. Adam, one of those slates where with only 2 games, you still have a couple top tier players. Like you have Curry, who, as to use your term, is usually a casualty of the slate, right? With Giannis's and Jokic, even Embiid's and those type of guys. Not really the case today. You have him, Towns, Randle, who you touched on your tournament plays video, which I watched today. Very solid stuff. Need a little work on the reads, but that's not what you're here for. You're here to give us information.
Yeah. I'm not going to give my thoughts on me doing reads.
It was fine. It was fine. It was fine. But it was good information. I would definitely check those videos out. You do them every day, right? You probably like around 11 or noon.
Monday through Friday around like 1:30.
Okay. Yeah. Check them out. But what, as far as the same question I always ask you, balance build, stars and scrubs build, is there any specific way you think is the right way to do it today? Or should we just be doing kind of everything on such a short slate?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just, you're going to naturally end up getting to everything. There's not a whole lot that looks good in the way of value that you're going to feel really good about. There are plenty of guys, especially for a 2-game slate. This is where it's kind of nice that the Pistons are on the slate, even though they're horrible and that game is probably going to be terrible. There are a bunch of cheap guys that could work their way into an optimal lineup, but there's not a whole lot that you're going to feel really good about. So, and there's also not a lot to pay up for. Like you have Towns and you have Curry at the top, then you have Randle, but I think, naturally it ends up being a little bit more balanced just for that reason.
Minnesota, New York Knicks. Let's talk about the guys up top first, and then we can get into the nitty gritty here with some of these other players on this Minnesota squad. But at the top, you have, amazingly, from an ownership standpoint, tied with Towns is Patrick Beverley. I never really thought, Adam, that we'd see a season where he was a +1 fantasy point per minute guy. I mean, this is the best fantasy point per minute production of his career, highest assist rate of his career. Per 36, he's averaging almost 13 potential assists. So like, he is very much involved as a playmaker, as a facilitator. not a high usage rate, still not a great rebounder, but he does enough in the way of that to actually pull some ownership on slates like this.
Yeah, he's someone that was really surprising me early in the season because I would put in his rates and they would make him project really well. So I would try and knock them down as much as I could by like estimating what his assist percentage would be over a longer time based on potential assists and stuff like that. And like no matter what I did, he would still be good. And at this point, I think he's just a pretty good fantasy producer. The matchup isn't great. Like the Knicks are a very slow team, but obviously only 2 games on the slate. So you kind of have to take what you can get. I think one other positive to point out with Beverly is that he played like 25 and a half minutes last game in 3 quarters. If he had gotten fourth quarter run in what was a blowout win over Golden State, I think there's a good chance he would have gotten up around 30 minutes. So I think it's pretty likely that you get 30 minutes or so here at only 5,500. Makes him look like a pretty strong option.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that game was over. What happened was the bench came in and just started annihilating them, right? I mean, yeah, that's what happened. You were looking at a tie game, around the tie game, when the bench came in late in the third quarter, ran away with it, put up a 27-point lead, and then they legit emptied the bench, right? Like you were talking McKinley, Wright, and Nathan Knight and Jake Layman. Like those are the guys that closed this game out, Adam. So I don't know. Beverly played 26 minutes. Even if you're giving him, 6-7 minutes in the closing rotation in a close game, those minutes are going to be there. And the same can be said for an Edwards, obviously played 28 minutes in that one, and most of these starters. But I know a lot of people don't like playing Patrick Beverly, and I do think it's understandable. Like you said, it's not a great matchup. They play slow, but you only have two games to touch on. When it comes to Beverly, is the ownership a little bit tough, or because he's -6% in the leverage score, he still has a 26% optimal chance. But is this a spot where you think he might be a little bit overowned?
I think maybe a little bit, but when you factor in the value too, I think it makes it a little bit better. Like it certainly opens stuff up. He has a 13% boom percentage, which is the second highest on the team behind Towns. So maybe a little bit overowned, but I don't think it's by enough that I'm like actively be looking to get away from him.
All right. Towns has the 5th highest optimal lineup percentage. Or no, I'm sorry. He has the 3rd highest optimal lineup percentage. One of the higher leverage scores on this slate. I wonder if that's just because like Randle's pulling a ton of ownership. Curry, they're both pulling like 10+% more ownership than Towns today. 17% boom percentage. This is our boom bust tool, if you're wondering what we're referencing here. Where do you go with on a night like tonight with Towns? The obvious answer is you're playing him. He's right. I mean, it's a short slate, but is this one where you might want to get overweight on him?
The way it looks right now, yeah, I think so. And like Josh and I talked about it this morning, there's some cheaper center options that look decent, but outside of Towns, there's nobody that is remotely close in terms of just raw point projections. Just looking at Alex's projections right now amongst the centers, Towns projects about 19 DraftKings points higher than the next closest guys, and then you kind of have a group of like Robinson, Lyles, Vanderbilt. So there's a decent chance that Towns just destroys this position, and that it can be pretty difficult to make up those points elsewhere. So I do like getting to Towns, especially since right now, like you said, we have him getting 32% ownership, but with a 40% chance of being optimal. There's certainly a chance he plays a lot of minutes here too, because on average, you can expect 34, 35, somewhere in there. But in their last competitive game, which was against Memphis on the 13th, Towns played 39.9 minutes. In the game against Golden State, he played 29.9 minutes in 3 quarters. If you add the 8.5 minutes he played to close the second quarter, like assume that was going to be his fourth quarter run, you're talking again about getting to like 38 minutes. So you certainly, if this game is competitive down to the wire, could get 38 minutes from a guy in Towns that produces close to 1.4 fantasy points per minute.
No question. And this game's got a 3-point spread. Minnesota actually favored on the road, 215 total. When it comes to somebody like D'Angelo Russell, how many minutes, first off, are you projecting him for tonight, assuming a close game?
For D'Angelo Russell?
Yeah.
I think 34.
34?
33, 34.
Yeah, 26% usage rate, 34.5% assist rate. He's another one where him, Towns, Beverly, Edwards, all of them getting pretty decent ownership. And you'll hear me say that a lot tonight. It's just going to be kind of par for the course given what we have to work with. If you're deciding between, Russell and Edwards, both of them shooting guard eligible on DraftKings, Russell point guard, and Edwards has the multi-position eligibility with small forward too. Do you have any lean, any preference one way or another, or is this a mix and match situation?
Between Edwards and Russell?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much mix and match. If one of them were to start getting less ownership, that's the one I would prefer. But right now you have Russell getting 27.5%, Edwards getting 24%. You're getting Russell for $200 cheaper. Edwards does have the guard forward eligibility, which is a little bit more valuable. But at the end of the day, I think they're very similar in that they're pretty close to correctly priced, but they're both guys that are very capable of getting hot. And if they do, they're going to shoot more. For the season, Russell has a 26% usage rate. Edwards is at 27.9%. Edwards 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. Russell 1.13. Edwards probably plays an extra minute or two in most games, but I think they're very, very similar. So I don't really have a preference unless you start to see a bigger ownership gap.
We had a question from Anthony. Adam, I think you give it a good answer to this. This question, in your opinion, is the fan? It's very awkward and uncomfortable when I use the word y'all, because
Really?
I don't use that naturally.
Oh, I use it like in normal conversation.
You do?
Yeah.
You say y'all?
I picked it up. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I picked it up mostly when I started working in restaurants because enough people get upset when you say you guys and they aren't guys, that it was easier to just start saying, oh yeah. Like it's not like frequent.
I've heard that, but I've never had one person ever. I refer to everybody as like, what's up, guys? I've never had anyone. You live in the city too.
It's one of those, once it happens like once, you're just like, okay, I'll stop saying that. And then it just turns into y'all.
Okay. So like, how would you say it? Like, y'all need another drink?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't said that in a long time, but yeah.
You talk to your friends that way too? Like, hey, y'all.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's just a normal part of my vocabulary.
But you don't type that way. You've never, we're in a million group chats. I've never once seen you use the word y'all.
Yeah. I guess I probably don't type it.
Huh. All right. Interesting. Learning something about Adam today. This is the great thing about 2-game slates. This is what you guys came here for. Anyway, in y'all opinion, is the fantasy cruncher necessary to win in DFS? I'm currently an Awesemo Platinum member that doesn't have it currently. So here's the way I'll phrase this question to you, Adam. Listen up. Would you, if you're someone that is playing, would you recommend either, high stakes or even low stakes? Like high stakes, would you recommend hand building, playing across like a bunch of high stakes, single entry or higher stakes, lesser entry max lineups? Or if you're lower stakes, would you, or max entering or using Fantasy Cruncher to optimize lineups for the $15 or $20? Or if you're playing low stakes, would you recommend, playing like the $12 single entry, a couple in this, a couple in that, or going and maxing like the mini max with Fantasy Cruncher?
So the way I think I would answer it is, ideally, I can't imagine playing any DFS contests and not using an optimizer. Fantasy Cruncher is the one that I prefer. But there is also the only question I would have is like what your volume is, because off the top of my head, I don't even know what Fantasy Cruncher costs. Like you have to consider if you expect to make enough money for it to be worth it. But assuming you're playing high enough stakes where the money makes sense to pay for it. I can't imagine playing single entry 3 max, 150 max, certainly 150 max, but anything without it, because basically all it's doing is what you would do by hand, but quicker. And so it's allowing you to basically just to make fewer mistakes, to generate more lineups quickly that you can go through and in whatever way you want and pick the ones that you want to play. It's just going to make your process more efficient, and it's going to keep you, prevent you from overlooking things and making mistakes that you wouldn't otherwise overlook. Like for example, there's plenty of times where I'll do the strategy show with Josh and I haven't used an optimizer yet, so I'm kind of just thinking through the slate and talking through the slate, and everything I'm saying makes sense logically. But then once I start building lineups, I'm like, oh wow, I really do need that cheap guy that I didn't actually want to play. Like that kind of stuff, where if you're building by hand, it's really easy to sort of just miss things that you don't really want to miss.
For sure. That's a solid. That's well worth your $5 there, fella. Our boy AB Alex Brown, who did a ton of the Showdown shows with Matt Gajeski and I this year, said, "What's wrong with using y'all?" He's watching. He just DM'd us. Us country folk use it all the time. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying I sound dumb saying it. I'm from the Northeast.
I'll say I actually don't know if I think I picked it up mostly from restaurants. It could have been when I went to school in South Carolina, but Myrtle Beach was still, or Coastal Carolina was still like half Maryland, Jersey. So I don't think I picked it up there.
Yeah, someone's telling me in chat that it's common in the South. I know it's. I know people use that word.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like it's the first time you've heard the word.
Right. What's that word? What's that mean? No, I'm not. I don't use. It's not in my vernacular, and I sound dumb saying it. You guys don't sound dumb saying it. I don't know. You might. I've never heard you say it. Like Jordan is a big time y'all user. I hear him say it all the time, which is weird. Well, you're from California. I don't know. Northeast, it's a little different. You guys from the Northeast can tell them. A lot of you guys from PA, it doesn't happen very often around here. All right. Hey, what are your thoughts on, and I know you talked about Naz Reid in the tournament video. I wanted to ask you about Jalen Nowell because he's actually a 1.11 fantasy point per minute guy. Not bad. The minutes are a little bit less predictable. And last game, he got some additional run and blowouts in the blowout when they just cruised past the Warriors late in that third quarter, as we talked about. But he's got a 20+% usage rate, 23% assist rate. The guy's rates actually aren't that bad. I mean, and he's had some games where he's played, 18 minutes against Houston, 31 DraftKings points, 23 minutes, 25. Not to just like game log watch here, but he has been able to come out with some lower minute games and put up big numbers on a 2-game slate. What are your thoughts on an 11%er in Jalen Nowell?
Yeah, I mean, I think he makes sense. I think the ownership makes sense. I do think he's priced basically correctly for his role. He's likely to give you somewhere in the 22-minute range. But like you were saying, he has a 23% usage rate this year, 1.08 DraftKings points per minute. He's not the kind of guy that you would be interested in on a bigger slate, but tonight certainly offers some value. Looks like the ownership is coming in around where it should, 11% chance of being optimal, 11% projected ownership. So I don't have any issues there. I don't think I would want him with Malik Beasley in the same lineup. Seems like it's probably pretty difficult for them both to get there, unless I guess the second unit just goes nuts. But either of those guys I think are fine. On DraftKings, I prefer Nowell. On FanDuel, I'm double checking, but I think I prefer Beasley. Yeah, because Beasley's 400 less on FanDuel.
Okay. Clownin, super chat, Randle or Towns?
I mean, different price, but if salary is not a factor, than Towns. But Randle is getting a lot more ownership probably because salary ends up being a factor.
With the rest of Minnesota, if we're rounding this one out, you got, JD McDaniels low own, Malik Beasley low own, Naz Reid. And if you want to talk about Vanderbilt, we can do that too. I don't think you've touched on him yet, but sorry, do you see that DM from AB? Looked at it. I'll know when you see it, because and then Naz Reid you had in your tournament plays video as well, saying this could I figured you'd like that. He said, my wife said in Philly, your y'all is like, you motherfuckers. I don't know, maybe that's true now that I think about it. But is Naz Reid one of those guys that could actually come through for us today at very minimal ownership? Look, it's a low percentage play, right? There's no doubt about that. But I think that's why you mentioned him in the video. Yeah,
exactly. Like, you shouldn't feel comfortable playing him. You shouldn't expect him to do a whole lot, because the issue is that for the most part, he's just playing behind Karl-Anthony Towns. They've only played 73 minutes alongside each other this year. And as I mentioned when we were talking about Towns, there's a good chance you get 37, 38 minutes in a competitive game, which means you're getting 10 or 11 from Reid, which really sucks. But the reason that he's interesting is on 2-game slates, it can be really difficult to find good point per minute producers that are also low owned, because everybody's gambling on anything that they can, trying to find some cheap guy that's going to do well. And then also you are getting a lot of ownership going to Towns. So the path to Reid having his best game is either a blowout or Towns, rolling an ankle, getting in foul trouble, whatever, things that take Towns off the floor. So you also get some negative correlation with a really popular player in lineups where you don't have Towns. So, again, it's not going to come through a lot, but getting somebody that, if for one reason or another Reid plays 18 or 19 minutes, is likely to be one of the best values on the slate at really low ownership is pretty appealing on a 2-gamer.
And we like those value centers, man, because
Yeah.
he's the type of guy too. And you might have mentioned this, sorry, but he could play 15 minutes and still get you there. You can't say that about a lot of guys that are close to minimum salary.
Right. And the other thing I mentioned with Josh this morning too is there's, with it only being 2 games, there's no guarantee that this slate is high scoring at all. Like,
right.
All it takes is a few guys having disappointing games. Like if Julius Randle isn't very good and Steph and Towns are just, mediocre, there's a good chance that you're just not able to score a lot of points tonight and it's a low scoring slate. So on a slate like that, it would kind of just come down to like, you need Reid to beat Beasley and Nowell and the Pistons garbage. And, he still doesn't project quite as well as those guys, but it's close enough where at his ownership, it's kind of reasonable. If tonight's a slate where like you end up needing every guy in your lineup to 6+ X, and score at least 30 points, then yeah, Reid probably doesn't get there.
Anything else from Minnesota?
No, I think that covers it.
Josh of Los Angeles, nice badge guy, says this slate blows. Yeah, it's not great, but everyone's got the same players. So I don't know. We'll do our best to break it down. Hit that thumbs up too if you like this type of content. Even if you don't, just do it anyway. Be charitable. Appreciate you. Get us up to 300. We got over 1,500 people watching right now for a 2-game slate. So life could be worse. Hey, with New York, we will talk about Randle and a lot of these guys. I actually want to kick it off at center though. You've got no Nerlens Noel, Adam. And I'm saying your name now because I know you're not listening. So that's my way to get your attention. I'm getting good at this.
No Nerlens Noel.
After fucking 5 years, I have to look over. I'm going to need Jordan to just come on producer cam and be like, Adam's not listening to you. I get it. It's cool. Anyway.
I'm one set of hockey lineup short in Fantasy Cruncher, and I can't figure out where I screwed up.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's fine. We'll go back and forth here. Mitchell Robinson, though. The minutes have been legit lately. You have no Nerlens Noel. He's got like a 77% true shooting percentage on the season. And obviously the guy has not attempted a single 3, but 20% rebound rate, 6.5% block rate. Like his numbers, if he's playing 31 minutes and for his career, he averages well above a fantasy point per minute. At this price, do we not have to have some, and he's knocked that over the last 2 years. He's done a great job managing his foul trouble issues that really plagued him over his first couple seasons. Do we not have to be looking at Mitchell Robinson if he plays another 30+ minutes and Taj only plays like 16 off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do. He's played 20 games this year where he has started, Nerlens Noel has been out, and Taj Gibson has been in. He's averaged 27.2 minutes per game, 0.86 DraftKings points per minute. Yeah, he looks fine. Like once you get past Karl-Anthony Towns, the center position is I don't want to say garbage. Like there is upside in guys like Robinson in either one of the Detroit centers, but it's not super appealing. Actually, that did just make me realize, I think I forgot to mention it, but Jared Vanderbilt on the Minnesota side is actually interesting to me. Just as a quick aside, he's only $200 more than Beverly on DraftKings, obviously different positions, but he's getting less ownership. He's projected for, where'd he go? He's projected for 22% compared to Beverly's 32%. I think those guys are actually really similar. But to get back to the Mitchell Robinson point, yeah, it makes him look pretty good. Like if he plays 27 or 28 minutes, he looks fine. It is a pace-up spot for New York, which is nice. Just there's more rebounding opportunities, more possessions. And then if he's playing well, he could get 30, 31 minutes.
He's played 30+ in a bunch of recent games, right? Yeah, he faced Minnesota not too long ago, played 32 minutes in that one. I was just curious to see if Noel played in that game. I think it was on the 28th of December. Yeah, Noel was out for that game. So the upside is there. I understand people don't love playing Taj Gibson. I get it. But I guess this would be one other thing too, Adam. You're going to have to play some guys you're not in love with today. And Patrick Beverly's different position. So that, is certainly, you have to look at it that way, but essentially the same price. And he's going to be owned by like a third of the field. So once you're talking about some of these 5K players, you're just going to have to grin and bear it with a couple of them.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's plenty of block upside there for him as well. Like you said, he played 31 minutes last game. Game before that, he played like 25 or 26, but that was a blowout where he didn't play the fourth quarter. Game before that, he got I think 26. Where'd he go? January 12th, he played, 26 against the Mavs. I think that 27 or 28 expectation is very reasonable when you consider just blowouts, foul trouble, second unit plays well, and Gibson steals a few minutes. But there's definitely the potential for him to get 30 to 32.
Yeah, no question. Wait, you mentioned last game was a blowout, right?
I mentioned.
I'm saying the last game where he played 26 minutes, none of the starters outside of like Barrett and Burks played. Even
Yeah. So I mixed up the order. Last game was the blowout where he didn't play in the fourth. 2 games ago was the most recent competitive game, and he played 31 minutes.
Yeah. Where are you at on Randle? Again, obvious answer, you're playing Randle. Chat is just not fond, not everybody, but a lot of chat, not particularly fond of him today. But he has, you look on FanDuel and our Boom Bust tool, he's getting a ton of ownership, but he has a 70% optimal lineup chance of being in the optimal, really high number today. On DraftKings, he has a 51% chance. That's 8 or 9% higher than the next closest player. On Yahoo, you've got Randle up there as well. It's 62% behind only Steph Curry. Or I'm sorry, that's ownership. I'd have to look for he has the second highest boom score on the slate as well. So yeah, he's popular, but he also projects really well for us.
Yeah, it's just really difficult, I think, to get away from him for a couple of reasons. For one, you have a pace-up spot against Minnesota. He's very reasonably priced on DraftKings at 9,200. He's insanely cheap on FanDuel at 8,400. And then on FanDuel, you also have center eligibility, which on most slates isn't that useful because we talk all the time about the opportunity cost at center being so high. So why would you roster Randle at center when you can roster him at power forward? But tonight's slate isn't like that because you don't really have centers outside of Karl-Anthony Towns. So I think there's going to be a lot of times where it's like, okay, well, I'll go Randle at center and then I'll go to a couple of power forwards. So it's just even easier to get him into lineups. The Boom Bust tool, I think, really tells the story. 44% ownership on DraftKings is a lot, but we have him with a 51% chance of being optimal. FanDuel, like you said, was 74% ownership, 70% chance of being optimal. I do think once you start pushing that 75% ownership range, you start getting to a point where, even if they're likely to succeed, you can make an argument at least that, about just going somewhere else because there's such a big advantage if 75% of the field gets Julius Randle in foul trouble or injured or whatever. But it's still telling you that if you can find contrarian plays elsewhere, that Randle still isn't really that overowned given the price and positional eligibility.
Where are you at on our boy RJ Barrett, man? Price is coming up. Ownership is coming up. He's been really good. This is the RJ Barrett that Knicks fans have been praying for. He's playing huge minutes. So on a per minute basis, he's been fine, right? Around the fantasy point per minute over his last 5 games where he's, seeing pretty decent volume. But even if you look at all of this, if he's getting that many minutes, he's going to come into play essentially every game, even if he's not the best in terms of peripherals, Adam. If you're chucking up 20 shots per game across 39, 40 minutes, Barrett's going to be a guy on a 2-gamer that we have to talk about.
Yeah, and he's been getting up a lot of shots too, playing more aggressively. He's played 8 games this year without Kemba and without Derrick Rose, with Julius Randle active, 28.1% usage rate. Over the last month overall, Barrett has a 29.2% usage rate, 18% assist percentage, and he's playing huge minutes, like you said. So on the one hand, he's 7,300, and that is clearly factoring in that he's playing huge minutes and that he has been, producing at a higher rate recently, 7,200 on FanDuel. But on the other hand, both of those things are true. The one thing that does concern me is that you're getting 41% ownership going to Barrett on DraftKings. You're getting 50% on FanDuel. Maybe the positional eligibility is, being a small forward, it's hard to fill that, and it's really useful. But it does concern me going to a relatively scoring-dependent guy like Barrett, who isn't particularly efficient. Even over the last month where he has that 29% usage rate, he's averaging 1.02 DraftKings points per minute. So let's say he plays 38 minutes and just produces at that average rate. That's a good score, but it's still not that's insurmountable if you don't have him. There's certainly a chance that he does worse. There's obviously a chance he does better as well. But the ownership does concern me a little bit.
Chuck Gravity, super chat. No comment, just to keep it up. GIF with is that a pair that's lifting weights, Jordan? Yeah, a pair with a headband. And then Uptown asks, can you ask Adam his favorite Showdown captains for these slates? And I responded with he's not going to know, but he said, I'm just curious on his thoughts. And so now I'm curious to know if you're actually going to have an answer for this.
I do not have an answer.
I told you.
I haven't looked at a NBA Showdown slate since last postseason.
I told you, man. I was trying to be helpful. It's just one of those things. You can't just be like, if you wanted a generic answer, it's like, okay, play Steph Curry at captain, but you don't know.
Right, yeah, Steph Curry, Karl-Anthony Towns, Julius Randle, but
right.
I don't know. It all depends
what the build looks like.
Yeah, what the rest of the lineup looks. I don't even know what the pricing is. Like, for all I know, RJ Barrett's $400, in which case he's my favorite captain. Like,
exactly.
I just have no idea.
I don't think he is, but I know what you mean. We have Showdown tools at Awesemo. Use the promo code NBA Live, all caps, all one word. Gets you 25% off the first week. Everything on the site. Awesemo plus platinum, boom bust, lineup builder, top stack. All of our Showdown tools for every sport. We got a ton of football showdowns coming up, basketball showdowns, you name it. We got it all. NBA Live. You want to get in on that? 25% off first week. Awesemo plus platinum. All those tools built by Awesemo himself. He's won a lot of money using them too. And everything that we reference here, ownership projections, boom bust tool, top stacks, all that stuff over at Awesemo for all of our sports. But I tried Uptown. I told you, he not playing Showdown tonight. All right. When it comes, we talked about Mitchell, we talked about Barrett, talked about Randle. It's funny, Evan Fournier had that 0-point game and everyone was losing their minds over it. Then he comes out against Boston, his former team, and just lights them up. And then he went on a bit of a run, come back down to earth. I think we know what type of player Fournier is at this stage of his career. Gibson's getting like 16% on DraftKings. Quickley's kind of popular, which I guess was a little bit surprising to me. Of course, the Kemba Walker news still pending, right? So we'll let you know if anything happens there. And you have live before lock coming up after this. But a lot of the Knicks in a pace up, big time pace up matchup are pretty popular tonight, Adam.
Yeah, and the Kemba news is huge. I guess to kind of quickly touch on that, because I think it matters once you get beyond the guys we just talked about. And to some extent, it matters for Barrett, because if Kemba's starting, for one, Barrett's usage probably comes down somewhat. Kemba's a higher usage guy than Burks. And for two, you could see Barrett rather lose a few minutes, especially if he's not playing well, because you're essentially adding somebody to the rotation. Like, I assume Grimes is coming out, but if Kemba starts, I also assume he's playing more minutes than Grimes was. So that is something to keep in mind. But he impacts these other guys too. Like, if Kemba is out, you can expect Fournier is a lot more likely, at least, to play in the fourth quarter. If he's playing poorly, you could get some Quickley minutes there at 4K, which would make, Quickley a decent dart throw option in tournaments. If Kemba's in, Fournier still could play 30 minutes, play 32 minutes, and play in the fourth. Quickley still could find a way to 24. It just makes everything a little bit more difficult for those guys, both in terms of playing time and in terms of usage.
Top options not named Randle for the Knicks, if you had to give me like your 2, 3, 4.
So Barrett would be 2, but like I said, I am a little concerned about the ownership. I do, from a value standpoint, Taj Gibson, power forward eligible at 3K flat on DraftKings. Obviously not someone that you're going to be particularly excited to get to, but it does open some stuff up for you. And then if Walker is out, kind of the same thing for Quentin Grimes. He's only 3,200. He's probably playing like 16 to 18 minutes. You shouldn't be excited about it whatsoever, but the minutes should be there. But as far as top options go, outside of Randle, I think it's Barrett and Robinson.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a Mitchell night. I feel it. I have one more question for you for Emmanuel Quickley, and then we'll get to the second game here. Tibbs has always shown this propensity to just play him big minutes and then not play him hardly any minutes the very next day. At his ownership, though, we're getting him close to 30% now, and I can see if we got an update here. Is that not one of those spots you might just want to come in a little underweight on, even if Walker's out? Because we've seen how many times Tibbs is just like, today you get 13 minutes.
Yeah, like I think that one's really, really tough, because I don't necessarily think he's getting 13 minutes, but all you have to do is go back to the last competitive game the Knicks played. Emmanuel Quickley played 19.7 minutes. And it's something I've mentioned before, I think with you. He's not a bad fantasy producer, but at least in my head, and I feel like in a lot of people's heads, they think that he produces at a lot higher rate than he does. He's a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. Yeah. Over the last month. For the season, I think he's in that range as well. I'm refreshing it now, but he's For the season, he's at 0.84 DraftKings points per minute. To put that in context, Evan Fournier is at 0.78. So you're talking about 600ths of a fantasy point per minute. And when you tell someone to play Evan Fournier, they say, "Oh my God, he's the worst player in the NBA. I'm not doing that." And if you tell them that Quickley is risky, they think that you're insane. So it's just a really weird thing where he's not as good a fantasy option as I think a lot of people make him out to be. And then the playing time, like you were saying, is inconsistent too. He played 29 minutes last game. If you told me he's going to play 29 minutes, and some of that was garbage time, but if you tell me that he's going to play 29 or even 26 minutes at 4K, then I definitely want to be there. But that's a lot of ownership for someone that could very easily play 20, 21 minutes.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, Jock Market, sponsor of today's show. And I believe Greg and Eric will be hanging out after Lock to touch on Jock Market, right? Go over some ownership and everything. Stick around. That's a fun show. Those guys do a fantastic job. I would highly advise you hang out if you've got nothing else to do following Lock. It's a good place to be. But yeah, Jock Market. I don't know if you've played there yet, but you should download it on your phone, whether it's the Google Play Store, whether it's the App Store, whether you still have a Nokia, whatever it is, JOCKMKT, and use the promo code Awesemo to get up to $50 on your first deposit. The first match deposit bonus of $50. They've turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange over on the market. You can buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money, whether you're buying, selling, or holding during the game. You can use the pregame IPO that they have to pick up shares of all of your favorite players. And on top of that deposit bonus, using the promo code Awesemo, they got a first market guarantee. I'll tell you what that means. If you lose your first NBA or NFL market over there when you're playing at Jock Market, they'll refund your losses up to $100. It's a win-win situation. Use the promo code, get your $50 deposit bonus, take advantage of the first market guarantee. Hopefully you don't lose. You won't have to. And also check out the free Jock Market IPO projections at Awesemo. They're free 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Again, Awesemo is the promo code JOCK_MKT, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. You can get it in the Google Play Store, the App Store, wherever it is that you're at. And it doesn't take the same type of research. You know, you can do it while the games are happening. Shit, you could do it from bed before you go to sleep. You know, wheel and deal there, like you're playing the market. All right. Adam, we had a super chat. This is a more timely. Dan has a BlackBerry. I think BlackBerry's went out of business, right? BlackBerry's done, aren't they?
I think so. I have no idea.
I had a BlackBerry when I was in. I remember having a BlackBerry. You ever
I
have
didn't.
one?
They were out by the time I was in high school.
Did you have a Nokia?
No, they were in, but I didn't have one.
Yeah, I had a phone when I was like 13 because my mom just never knew where I was. She's
Right.
like, "Fuck it, I'll just get you a phone," you know. But yeah, Snake on the Nokia. Those were the days, man. Anyway, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I started with a Verizon flip phone, which nobody cares about.
Was it like a Razor? You have a Razor?
No, I had a Razor. It broke like immediately, but had one temporary, like briefly.
Tevin asks, Bay or Wiggins in a tournament?
Not a real strong preference. I think I would lean Bay just because Wiggins scares the hell out of me with Klay Thompson active.
Okay. Did you see that proposed trade for Ben Simmons by the Pistons?
No.
No?
No.
Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick for Ben Simmons.
I mean, I think most of those guys suck.
It still leaves them with zero playmakers, too, the Sixers.
Right.
Like, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah, point Olynyk. That's worked out.
Yeah, it's been solid. All right, we have one more super chat. Where the hell did that go? Where'd that go? Adam Palmer took down the 4K $3 and seventh in the $300,000 $7 yesterday. $1,644 off $42. Thanks for the calls on Booker last night. Congrats, man. Thanks for the super chat. All right, 16-point dogs, Detroit Pistons.
Hang on a second. Hang on. I just wanted to mention something else about Kemba because I saw it in chat. Somebody said Kemba's going to be on a minutes restriction if he plays. I don't disagree with that sentiment, but I haven't seen that confirmed. And I don't think that it's quite the guarantee that it would be in most cases because Kemba didn't play a game from November 26th until December 18th. Came back, played 37 minutes in that game, followed it up with 40, 43, and 40. Hasn't played a game now since December 29th. My assumption is that he's going to be limited, but if they start him and don't give him, we don't get a report of he's starting but playing 24 minutes or something, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he plays more minutes than we all think that he should. If he comes off the bench, I think that's a very good sign that he's limited.
Okay. Good thoughts. Oh, Emac, that joke, man. Jordan, when we can put him up on the screen, we'll have to feature some Emac dad jokes because that is solid.
Oh man, that was bad. I just saw it.
Yeah, I mean, not great. People are loving it though. So shout out to Emac. Check out his building blocks article and all the free content we got on the site today as well. What do we have? Player rankings for NBA are free. PGA rankings, NHL top stacks tool is free. All that stuff over at awesemo.com. You don't need a sub or anything for that. All right, let's talk about the Pistons, Adam. Huge dogs here in Golden State, but 2-game slate, which means we got to get into it. And they're pulling ownership. I mean, Cade, Sadiq Bey, Trey Lyles isn't it. Let's start with Trey Lyles. What do you make of him today? He's played quite well lately, getting some minutes, producing some great per minute production as well for a beleaguered Pistons squad.
Yeah, so Lyles is interesting because basically we're just seeing him play, split minutes with Isaiah Stewart, and some games he plays more, some games Stewart plays more. I don't feel very confident expecting him to play many, if any, minutes alongside him. And so that makes the ownership a little bit concerning. He's getting 30% ownership, whereas Stewart's getting 19. Stewart's $500 less expensive. Lyles is a pretty good point per minute guy, and he certainly could play 27, 28 minutes here, but I don't really think he should be getting that much more ownership than Stewart, considering the price difference. And, Stewart's a 0.87 fantasy point per minute guy. Lyles is at 0.99. So Lyles is better, but it's not like it's by a wide margin.
Our boom bust tool does love him today, though.
Yeah, which kind of confuses me.
We're projecting him. Alex hasn't projected for 24 minutes.
Okay, I hadn't refreshed projections. He had him at 26 earlier.
Has the boom bust refreshed? Yeah, a minute ago. Still up there.
So, but yeah, either way, 5,100 with power forward center eligibility. He looks fine. I don't know. 30% ownership seems like a lot for a guy that it's kind of like the Quickley spot. Like if Isaiah Stewart plays 28 minutes tonight, which all that means is if Isaiah Stewart plays his normal rotation to open the first, close the second, open the third, and then he happens to be the one closing the game, you're probably getting like 20 to 22 minutes from Lyles is my concern.
My God, Jordan, that is a great poll question. That it wasn't you?
No, Emac asked it.
Oh, okay. He asked, so he's like quizzing people? Okay. You get no credit. How old was Emac when he got his first cell phone? Over 30 and a half or under 30 and a half, Adam?
I don't think he's actually that old, is he?
I think it has to be under.
But he set the line, which makes me think it's over.
All right, so I was 13.
I was 14 or 15.
Now. That was 19 years ago. Or sorry, 21. No, 13. Yeah, 21 years ago.
Yes, I mean, I guess I got mine like 18 years ago.
There's no, Emac's not 51. And I'm not saying he got one at the same time I did, but.
Yeah, it's just Emac's from like a small town in like the middle of nowhere. He might have just never had a cell phone until.
They didn't really know what cell phones were until long after we had one.
Right.
Okay.
Like I'd still lean under, but I could just see Emacs being like, yeah, I have no use for a cell phone. Screw it.
That's a good question.
He had a real job. He had a real job, though. He had to have had a cell phone before he was 30 and a half.
You would think so. Wayne's World. I didn't forget how old I was. I forgot how to do math entirely. All right. I think you're right. Since he said it, I'm going to go over 30.
I'm going under just because I know he had a job. So I feel like he had to have gotten one earlier than that.
I mean, I still remember the phones where you pick like the internet connection where you'd pick up and if you picked up and someone was on the internet, You'd have that horrible sound in your ear.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It's like 56K modem or something. I don't know. Jordan probably never had that. No. Jordan's had that good internet connection his whole life. What else do you want to do for the Pistons with all of them pulling like significant ownership today? And I'll get to that Josh Jackson question in a little bit. I did see the super chat.
Yeah, so I mean, the rest of the Pistons, I guess you have to start with Cade Cunningham. He looks very good on both sites. On FanDuel, he's pulling way more ownership than on DraftKings, but he also should be because he's $6,000, projected for 65% ownership, 65% chance of being in the optimal lineup, 35% ownership on DraftKings, 39% chance of being optimal. On FanDuel, I really just, other than the ownership being high, I don't really have any concerns because Cunningham, even if this game is an absolute blowout and the starters don't play at all in the fourth quarter, that probably means you still got like 28 or 29 minutes from Cunningham, which should be okay at 6K. On DraftKings, that's the concern, is that he could just not play at all in the fourth and you're in trouble at 7,500. But the flip side to that is if he does get his 33 or 34 minutes and this game is at least somewhat competitive, and the thing that you have to keep in mind, you and I talk about this a lot, but the thing that you have to keep in mind, this can be like the spread is 14 or 15 points. This can be for the entirety of the game, a 15 to 20 point game. Yeah. And as long as that's the case, Cade Cunningham's playing in the fourth quarter. It's not like if it's an 18 point game, he's just not coming back in. So you need it to be one of those 30 plus point games in the second half for him to probably not get back in. So
yeah, it's a good point.
It still makes him look like a very good play at the DraftKings price tag. It's just obviously a little bit riskier. We talked about Lyles, Stewart, the flip side of that. I like Stewart in tournaments just because he does negatively correlate with Lyles, who's getting more ownership. Saddiq Bey looks fine. He should play a lot if the game's close. The only two players on this team that I am very, very confident are in the closing lineup if the game is close are Cunningham and Bey. So that makes them pretty appealing. Diallo's like the third guy, but his minutes have not been as consistent recently. And then you're getting like one of Stewart and Lyles. You're getting one of Hayes, Lee, Joseph. So minutes-wise, Bey and Cunningham, I think, are the ones I'm most confident in.
Okay, so we had a super chat on your thoughts about Josh Jackson too.
Yeah, so Josh Jackson's ownership is a little bit concerning to me at 22%, but at the same time, I get it because he's only 3,600 on DraftKings. He's averaged about 0.83 DraftKings points per minute this year. He's just a cheap guy that's probably going to play around 20 minutes, but has the potential to play more. I think that there's several guys like that on Detroit, and it's why Detroit actually is a pretty appealing team to me. Josh Jackson at 3,600, Saben Lee at 3,400. Lee's projected for 14% ownership, 19% chance of being in the optimal lineup. They are, and Killian Hayes, 3,800, projected for 18% ownership. All three of those guys are interesting to me as values because on average, you're going to get like 20-ish minutes from Jackson. You're going to get like 16-ish from Saben Lee. You're going to get like 24, 25 from Killian Hayes. But if this game is competitive and Hayes is playing well, he can easily get you to 30 minutes. If Saben Lee's playing well, he could get you like 22 minutes instead of 16, and he's basically a point per minute guy. If Josh Jackson's playing well, he could pick up a few extra minutes. So all of these guys are, I think, interesting tournament options at relatively low ownership. I do think rules are really important. I don't want Hayes and Lee together. I don't want Joseph with either of them. I don't want Jackson with Diallo because I think that's like if Josh Jackson finds his way into the closing lineup, I think it's most likely over Amadou Diallo. So I would be setting rules there. And then I'd already mentioned, Stewart and Lyles, not wanting them together as well.
I know it was dial up. To chat. Google it. Google 56K modem. I bet I'm right. I bet that's what it was. Did you put that EMAC picture up? It's great because like it's so pixelated that it looks like it was taken with like one of the earliest possible camera phones.
Yeah, I feel like that picture was taken when I was in middle school.
It's so pixelated. You know what it looks like? Do you remember the old printers that they would print out like one at a time? It's like when you'd print out a picture and it would take like 5 minutes to print out a color picture. It looks like that was printed from one of those old ass printers. Oh, that is good stuff. Good stuff. All right, where'd the poll come in at? 58% say over. Did he answer? It was over 30 and a half. Okay. All right. Good stuff, E-Mac. Golden State, Adam. Let's put a bow on this. Then we'll turn it over to Greg and Eric. They're in for the long haul, going up 30 minutes after lock, live before lock, and then you got the post-lock Jock Market show. Steph Curry, man, people not particularly happy with him lately. I mean, he's put up some brutal games, with 160 plus sandwiched in between them. And on a slate like this, though, and they've been involved in a lot of blowouts lately. What do you do with Steph Curry, and how much are you really considering something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too concerned about his recent shooting or the blowout because there's a good chance that if Curry loses the fourth quarter, Curry still scored 50 plus points, and there's just only so many guys that can score that many fantasy points tonight. It's not nearly as concerning as it would be on a slate, if you had 5 other pay up options or something like that. But he is getting more ownership than Towns, which makes me like Towns a little bit more. Curry with a 40% chance of being the optimal lineup on DraftKings, 43% ownership. So certainly still think Curry's a good play. It's a good matchup. There's not many guys that are in the same range projection wise as him, but getting a little bit more ownership than Towns makes me like Towns a little bit more if I'm just playing one.
Goody says, what are your typical settings in Fantasy Cruncher on a 2-game? Any groups for that mid-range DK GPP 20 max, Adam? So basically any groups for the mid-range? Or are you just
no, I mean, in general, I'm going to use less groups on a 2-gamer because there's less opportunity cost. And so I'm more willing to have a little bit of negative correlation. But as far as like groups go, it's not about price ranges. It's more about closing lineups. Like, I don't think in Saban Lee's best game, I don't think Killian Hayes is playing a lot. In Trey Lyle's best game, I don't think Isaiah Stewart's playing enough minutes for me to want him, that kind of thing.
Let's cover the rest of the Warriors here. I thought we had a question. I can't find it though. That's all right. Wiggins, Thompson's getting 24%. How many minutes are you giving him? You think he gets to 25?
I think 24 or 25 is reasonable.
Do you like him at a mid 5K price point?
At 23% ownership, I'm kind of interested just because he had the massive usage rate in his first game at 40 whatever percent, but in the 3 games since then, he still had 2 games over 30 and he's had one at like 26%. You're still getting him out there shooting a lot. I fully expect him to be the second highest usage guy behind Curry. It's a good matchup. 5,500 isn't a crazy price tag, especially on this slate. Like when you look at the alternatives in that price range, there's just not a lot that I'm really excited about. Like you have Patrick Beverley, who, yeah, he's probably going to play like 6 minutes more than Thompson, but we know the kind of ceiling, like the kind of Beverley can't really put up the same level of production that Thompson can, right, per minute. Same goes for Fournier, unless he's going to.
That's a good way to look at it for sure.
Unless Fournier is going to shoot 10 for 14 from 3 again. Just the fact that, the guys around them, like Corey Joseph, Mitchell Robinson, Patrick Beverley, Evan Fournier, Jared Vanderbilt, Otto Porter are the guys basically sandwiching Klay Thompson in price. It makes me a little less concerned about the fact that he's going to only probably play 24 minutes.
And he's still, even through 4 games, has a monstrous usage rate. It's still at 35%. Obviously, as he plays more minutes, it's going to come down. But, 35% usage across, if you get 25 minutes from him, could be solid. It's just the only unfortunate thing, Adam, is it's not like you're getting way decreased ownership on Klay Thompson because he's only playing 23, 25 minutes. That's
right.
The issue.
Right. I basically see it as the ownership being around where it should be. This is the first slate where I expect I will be playing Klay Thompson, but I'm also not looking at it like, oh, I'm going to just slam this guy that's probably playing 24 minutes into as many lineups as I can.
Any other top tier options or guys that you want to break down? Because a lot of these guys are getting double-digit ownership, but none of them are just getting really, really popular, from Peyton to Looney to, Jordan Poole. All of those guys are going to be involved today. And Andre Iguodala is questionable, by the way. But how do you break down the non-super popular Warriors?
It's kind of just a lot of guessing because they're really difficult to predict off the bench. I haven't seen a Golden State starting lineup yet. I've seen that Peyton is probable. My assumption for now is that Peyton goes back to the starting lineup and you get the one that we were seeing with Curry, Peyton, Thompson, Wiggins, and Looney. If that's the case, I like Peyton probably is playing 24 minutes or so, 26 minutes maybe. At 4,500, that's okay. Porter off the bench is probably playing low to mid-20s. Poole's probably playing mid-20s. Kaminga could literally play anywhere from like 10 to 24, probably partly depending on Iggy's status. So I think it's another spot where I really just want to be paying attention to rules. Like I don't think I want more than one of Peyton, Poole together. Peyton, Poole, Lee. I probably don't want more than one of like Porter, Kaminga, Iggy. I don't want more than one of like Looney and Bielitsa.
Okay. Got through an hour pretty easily, didn't we?
Yeah. 2 games is kind of easier because like you can just talk about.
Break everything down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember when Tom first asked us to do an hour for Showdown slates. I was like, man, that's tough. I was, firmly against it. And then you realize how easy it actually is because like you said, you just talk about everything and each little piece is that much more important than it would be on a 10 game.
Right. Yeah. You can just get into the strategy angle more too.
Did you use AOL Instant Messenger when you were younger?
Yeah.
Me too, man. I would have like 17 of them up just covering the entire screen because you couldn't just flip back and forth. Each one had an individual box. Right.
Yeah, it was
like even before AIM, it was AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh no, I used AIM.
Yeah, I did after a while, but at first it was just like AOL Instant Messenger, which is what AIM is, but it was like a different application.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. No, I didn't use that. AIM was my starting point.
Always felt like a stud back then. Yeah, everybody. And then here we are now talking fantasy sports about other athletes. We've made it. Anyway, I'll send you off with a little Hall of Fame action. Yeah, we are old, TJ. I know. We're really not. I mean, I'm 34. Adam's like 31.
32.
30. I just turned 30.
Yeah, just turned 32.
So, anyway, send you off with some Hall of Fame action, get you into the Live Before Lock show. Just to induct a few people, shout them out. And by the way, thank you. Almost at 400 likes. You guys are the greatest. Even on a 2-gamer, we keep things happening around here. If you want to get involved, you want to get inducted, want to get that love right here on the Hall of Fame, on our flagship shows, and of course on Twitter, and also win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, just go to awesemo.com/avatar. Download that avatar. Use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, wherever you want. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and tweet us at Awesemo, HOF. It's that simple. Get an entire free month, every sport on the site, every tool we have, and get inducted right here into the Hall of Fame. We've got first Kyle with 2,400. Buffalo Bills 12. I mean, look, he gets the Bills win in blowout fashion, wins almost $2,500. That's a good day on $9 in entry fees. First out of 39K. Congrats, man. And then Kellen, $100 win. Said nice little win on the NBA early slate. Thanks to Awesemo and all the tools and guys over there. Nothing huge, but I'll add it to the bankroll. Listen, man, still a free month. Still a free month. I don't care what you're playing. Just finish top 3. SG, shout out to the Awesemo tools for helping me take second in the $4 this afternoon. Thought Levert might get me there right at the end. Second place, $1,500 for Sean Geezy. And then to wrap it all up, Chad. I saw him in chat today. What's up, Chad? $500. I don't know why we cropped that. I swear he took first and second in this and took down like $1,400 all in all. But either way, congrats, Chad. Everybody else, welcome to the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've already been here. And to all you guys out there, good luck tonight. We'll catch you back here soon. Hit Adam up at Ship My Money DFS. Follow that NHL sweat tonight, man. Good luck. Take it down. Was 100K up top?
Yeah, 100K up top.
All right. Shout out to Jordan Klein producing the show. Doing a fantastic job as always. And you can follow me at Laffy_D right there. Yellow lettering right below our heads. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Midweek, deeper dive. Peace.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock, presented by Jock Market. Oh, look at that. Always on the TV. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking a little bit two-game NBA slate action, reminiscent of some night slates you guys may or may not be partaking in, but I think this is kind of an interesting one myself. So I got a guy that's going to be breaking it down, the Live Before Lock crew. We're back Tuesday through Friday. Greg Ehrenberg, Ed Ehrenberg, DFS, and we're going to be taking you up to lock all week long. How you doing, my dude?
Hey, you're a lot more excited about this one than I am, but hey, we've got I'll be honest. There's not very many times,
Greg.
There's not very many times that this feels like a job. 90 minutes to talk about a two-game basketball slate. Certainly one of those times where it could feel a little bit more, but that's also why I'm happy that we have an audience and you guys ask questions, make fun of us, mix it up a little bit because I think we could have a little bit of fun here because. Two-game slate, it's going to be hard to talk about nothing but basketball for 90 minutes when there's only two games on.
Yeah, I'm excited for those 2v2s tonight, Greg, where it's, do you want these two shit players or these two shit players in your lineup? Yeah. Because that's really what you're looking at to try to find some differentiation because anybody good is rostered a lot. Do I even want to just start right now? Do we want to just jump into it? We've got 51 minutes here until lock. I don't know. Do you have anything new in your life, Greg, you'd like to talk about on this stream?
No, but there is. Here's a question. Here's a question I do have to ask you about this slate. We've got two games, right? That's known information. One of these games fairly likely to be a blowout. We've got the Warriors favored by, depending what book you're looking at, as big as 15.5-point favorites today. How much are we looking at trying to find value on this slate? The one thing I think is most interesting here about trying to find value is you could play for the Warriors-Pistons game to be a blowout and try to make lineups around that narrative, something that we wouldn't normally be doing on a bigger slate. For a two-game slate, though, I think it kind of makes sense to try to do stuff like that. Is that anything you're considering?
Oh, yeah, because Kaminga, I have an irrational amount of in some spots. It's he's just a dude that you've seen some lopsided games. Now, they got absolutely murdered by Milwaukee. Then they absolutely murdered Chicago. Then he played 33 minutes in a blowout loss to Minnesota. So, we've seen 3 consecutive games and pretty sure that if any game gets sideways, Kaminga's going to go out and he's going to do some meaningful stuff, nearly a 0.95 DraftKings points per minute player. So, of course, if you had on your bingo card, Jonathan Kaminga being mentioned first on this show, you're definitely going to hit the bingo before everybody else because there's just no way that I thought that was going to be the case. But I think that is a really fascinating part of talking about this slate. We have a 3-point spread in the first game, Minnesota in New York. That's actually opened up quite a bit here. I believe it opened at 1 yesterday, but then this 16-point spread you're seeing in some spots for the Golden State game, definitely do like the idea of building around that narrative. So anybody else you had in mind besides Jonathan Kaminga?
Let's look deep on some of these rosters. Let's go. So the end of the Detroit roster. And here, I want to also pull up, I'm just going to look at the last time they were blown out, which I'm sure it happens fairly regularly. The Pistons get blown out. So we could go to the last game that got blown out and look at some of the minutes allocations here, just to kind of get a sense of like, okay, what happens in a game that's really one-sided? Who potentially see extra minutes? Guess how far back we have to look at the Pistons to find a game where they were blown out?
It's been a long time. Sorry, I got caught up by toupee discussion. And then what Josh Engelman apparently said this morning about Jonathan Kaminga. Did you see that in the chat?
Well, that's his nickname is Cumbucket, but that's
that literally his nickname?
Yeah, that's just his nickname. That's what.
Is that on Basketball Reference confirmed?
I mean,
that would be amazing.
I'll check on Basketball Reference. People bring like Cumbucket signs to the games, though.
That's so incredible.
Let's see.
Idea. Oh, is Huntington Prep? Okay.
I have a feeling they wouldn't put that on. I have a feeling that they wouldn't put that on Basketball Reference.
Yeah, I had a feeling that would be the case too. They do have his lovely Twitter and Instagram handle, so there's that.
The only player on Basketball Reference does not have a nickname listed as Jonathan Kaminga. But yeah, I sent a Photoshop thing about it in our group chat the other day. Jordan, could you pull that up? Maybe we could post that.
Just fire it. Jordan got really excited. See, these are the moments we need a producer cam when we see Jordan Klein go from just la-da-da-da-da going about his business to, oh, I'm excited to partake in something here. Jonathan Kaminga. That is lovely. Top 10 pick, obviously, from the draft last year. Decent enough rookie. Has some meaningful minutes here in store if it is garbage time. But let's go position by position because, that's kind of what we do here on this show. And one guy at this position at guard, and similar to what we'll talk about at center, and similar to what we'll talk about at forward, just stands out above the rest. Steph Curry. Do you want to be over or under 43.5% we currently project him for on DraftKings?
Let's see. So Steph Curry is currently, and I'm going to refresh to make sure I'm looking at the most recent run of ownership here. So Steph Curry is at, it hasn't changed for 23 minutes. So we've got Steph Curry at 53% over on FanDuel right now and 42% on DraftKings. If you have the salary to spend up for somebody today, it's going to be Steph Curry because, the answers are either Steph Curry or Karl-Anthony Towns. I have Curry projected quite a bit higher than Towns. I have him like 8 fantasy points above. So if I have the space to spend up for someone, I'm choosing between them, it's going to be Curry more often than not. And then also considering that, kind of dumpster diving a little bit, trying to find guys at the bottom of the rosters to try to save money with, whether it be our guy Kaminga, the cum bucket, or if it's, let's see, who else are some of the cheap guys I'm getting to today? Gary Payton, Isaiah Stewart. To me, it just makes most sense to spend up for Steph Curry compared to the other options. So in my build, actually, I'm overweight to the field on him. Do you feel any differently? It is obviously a lot of ownership, but it's a 2-game slate. He's the most upside of anybody.
Yeah, I think that it makes some sense. I will say that Karl-Anthony Towns, I can't imagine that I'm not going to have 100% of him just purely because he's projected for 20 more than the next available player at his position. So for me, I think I prefer Karl-Anthony Towns just because of position. You got to roster a center. It's a 2-game slate. And, if you're looking for your leverage spots here, I'm just updating the boom bust tool here as well as we're going. But Karl-Anthony Towns, 20 more points. I just think you have more opportunities, more guys that could spike a ceiling upside from D'Angelo Russell, Cade Cunningham. Steph Curry is going to eventually have one of these massive games. We've seen it where 30, 35, 40 is definitely in the realm of possibility. And not just that, but it's been pretty prevalent here in his box scores the last couple of weeks. So for me, it's just the positionality of Towns. I'm prioritizing him. Again, I'm just going to play 100% in my 40 lineups and find my leverage that way. Steph Curry, I'm still going to get to a lot of, this is a 2-game slate, but I'm definitely not going to be lock buttoning him in like I am with Cat.
So you're 100% Karl-Anthony Towns.
100%. I have no doubts about it. That is going to be kind of my big stand. He's 10-2. We're looking at a spot in the garden here. And I don't want to say this. I saw this weird stat where it was something like 6 players have scored their career high in the garden this season, which is a pretty large number. And again, it's a place people like to go and show out. And Karl-Anthony Towns, there's obviously been a lot of rumors, kind of to my detriment as a Timberwolves fan, that Karl-Anthony Towns wants to end up in New York and that there's going to be some kind of a push to get him into New York at some point in time. I don't know whether or not that's something that can come to fruition. That is not my job. My job is to look at DFS and Karl-Anthony Towns. I think just because of the position he's at, where it's 20 more raw points on DK, and Steph Curry, he's projected for 13 more raw points than D'Angelo Russell. But I just think that there are some guys that, I have concerns about the blowout. 10-6 is a little bit more expensive. There's more guards than there are obviously just pure center only plays, especially guys. I mean, Jared Vanderbilt, his own teammate, Karl-Anthony Towns, the next guy, power forward center eligibility. Next true center is Mitchell Robinson. And, obviously getting Nerlens Noel ruled out again today, that definitely helps him. But I'm just not super excited to roster Steph Curry the same capacity that I am to just fire as hard as possible on Cat.
Have the list of, by the way, this is kind of a dumb list. Here are the players that have scored their career high at MSG this year. The reason it's a little dumb is because one of them is Evan Mobley. He's a rookie, right?
Yeah,
it's a little weird. They're putting him on the list. However, other players, Jalen Brown, career high, scored 46 points at MSG this year. OG Anunoby, 36. Ricky Rubio, 37. Evan Mobley, 26. And Zeke Naji, 21. Those are the players that have scored a career high in points at MSG this season.
Look at you. I don't know how you pulled that up right off the bat. I guess Google exists, so you might be a ninja. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
I just said the fact because I was watching it on NBA TV last night or yesterday morning, I guess it was out here, but it was just fascinating to hear that large of a number had. And yes, having a rookie involved in that is stupid.
Yeah. And it also the power of Google, in case you're wondering how I find information quickly, I use Google, which is also what I use to find some Jonathan Kaminga information. By the way, if you look up his nickname, you would not believe the things that show up. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Fournier. There you go. Jordan Klein.
Oh no, I was going to say
Jordan Klein thinks I'm the most technologically inept person that has ever walked the earth. He was making fun of me this morning about it. He was making fun of me last night about it. Our group chat is not as if my regular job, like going on this show with you, is all about getting made fun of. Even my social life has become just me getting made fun of. I think Greg brings it up every single time. My wife makes fun of me all the time. It just is what it is. At least I'm nice about it or something.
But so the other funny thing too is, so a lot of times when these shows end, it'll be like Jordan, Eric, and I, maybe somebody else will jump on Zoom with us, and whatever it is that we're making fun of Eric about on the show, he'll try to go to his wife for backup. Like he'll ask her, tell them that my hair isn't really a toupee. Tell her that my hair is real, and she'll be like, oh no, his hair is fake. Like immediately after we finished the show the other day. So
she's
one
way
of us,
cooler than me.
One of us.
One of you. Yeah, no, she's way cooler than me. She knows it and she takes advantage of it. Rest of the guard position. Yeah, we can talk basketball. Looking at the top end, we've got, of course, Steph with the most ownership, Cade Cunningham, 7,500 over on DK. And obviously we're not looking at a bunch of point per dollar here in this regard. 7,500 for him. I'm getting to over that 34% number. I said I'm going to be shying away a little bit more from 41%. I'm still going to have Steph Curry, so don't get me wrong. But Cade Cunningham, it's uncomfortable. And at the same time that I want to play cum bucket, and oh my God, Kemba Walker will start. So that's going to be a fun thing to talk about here in a second. Oh, baby. Well, I don't even know what to think about the guard position. How about we just jump to that? Kemba Walker starting. Thoughts?
Yeah, so the next thing I want to know is, does he have a minutes restriction? Because Kemba Walker was playing, fairly well from a fantasy standpoint for an extended period of time when the Knicks had players out. And I wasn't sure what to make of him when he came back, because we didn't even know if he was going to be in the rotation. Because don't forget that before he had this stretch where he was playing really well, he was out of the Knicks rotation entirely. He was only in it because they needed him to. They had so many players out with COVID. They had injury situations. Derrick Rose, he has that injury. It's going to keep him out for most of the rest of the season. So they were only starting and playing Kemba Walker big minutes because they had nobody else to go to. I wasn't sure. Number one, I wasn't sure if he was going to play today because he was listed as questionable. Number two, I wasn't sure if he was active, if he was going to be in the rotation. And now he's starting. So now the next piece of news that's going to be really important is, do we have any restrictions on him? Is Tibbs going to go out and play Kemba Walker 40 minutes coming back from a knee injury? Or is this going to be, 18, 24 minutes or something like that?
Well, 64 over on DK, I think is less of a concern. I think I'll maybe get to a little bit, but probably not. I guess we're projecting him for just short of 20 minutes in our last update. I'm not sure. Once again, I would assume not going to be full bore, but you just never know with Tibbs. Like if it were other coaches, I would almost just assume a minutes limit, but we're talking about Tom Thibodeau. This guy is nuts. And this guy likes to play his starters a lot, last season especially. But, this year it's opened up a little bit kind of by necessity, just because certain guys have underperformed, whether that's Fournier, not RJ Barrett. He's been pretty good here of late, but huge downgrade to him right off the bat for me. Kemba Walker, even just 18 minutes of him, 20 minutes can definitely screw with RJ Barrett a little bit more than what the field might account for. I'm looking at him on FanDuel. Kemba Walker is 4,900. I am playing 25 lineups over there. I am probably going to have a ton at that number. As long as I hear something around 24 minutes or 26, and if I don't, I'm just going to probably fire even harder. I mean, he's so appealing over there.
Yeah. Once again, though, I want to get that minutes, any kind of minutes restriction on him, which we obviously don't have yet, which is very important for a 2-game slate, because not only is this going to impact Kemba Walker individually, but the amount of minutes he plays is going to have an impact on RJ Barrett. It's going to impact Alec Burks. It's going to impact Evan Fournier. And for a 2-game slate, as much as this might annoy people, you kind of do have to consider everybody. There's only so many players to choose from. We're going to see, a total of 35-ish players or something like that actually get on the court across these 2 games today. So I really need to get some sort of an idea of Kemba Walker's minutes here to know, number one, how much I want of him, but then also what does it do for every other player on the Knicks? Because if I'm going to give Alec Burks 28 minutes or I'm going to give Alec Burks 36 minutes, it's massive, massive difference. Now I'm viewing these other players on the team.
I mean, it's just, I'm running rates. I'm just kind of automating it here quick and trying to throw it all together. I literally did not think Kemba Walker was playing, but yesterday they played one of the more abysmal games that I've seen by a team all season long, which sounds really, really extreme, but it kind of is. Emmanuel Quickley was the most useful player on the floor there in the second half, which is just sad to say out loud. RJ Barrett, I guess, played decent enough. He's been playing really well of late. But again, all these guys definitely take major bumps. I will say Julius Randle, I don't know if that ownership is really going to move off of that. I think that it's hard to not still have interest in him because of that ceiling, raw points, all of that jazz. But man, it really does affect RJ Barrett. Obviously, Emmanuel Quickley will not be a thing for me whatsoever. I'm very curious to see where kind of this ownership fluctuates. And this isn't like a regular slate where it'd be 6-7 games and you'd see things move 5-10%. You can still kind of play your guys. Like, things are going to shift by 15, 20, 25% in certain players. So we really got to be really cognizant of ownership as we get closer to lock. 37 minutes to go. Kind of nice to get some news. That kind of makes it a little bit easier to go through this entire 90 minutes, which, again, I'm excited to be talking some Jock Market because I think that there's some money to be made over there. But let's keep going with the rest of the guard position. That was obviously very important. Alec Burks, that ownership is massively going to come down for sure. I'm assuming he is coming off the bench here. That makes him really unappealing at 6,500. Patrick Beverley is a guy that I was planning on being overweight no matter what today, 5,500. I will see how a 6,400 Kemba over on DK changes my lineups there. But what do you look at with Patrick Beverley, somebody who I think is going to be playing 30-plus minutes going forward for this Timberwolves team? Jalen Nowell actually is going to be playing, so that's one thing to consider. But even in these games, he's been playing 16, 18 minutes, in backup duty. It's just been kind of Jordan McLaughlin out. But looking at Patrick Beverley, how do you consider him, considering he's the 4th most popular guard currently on DK?
Yeah, so something else also is I just gave Kemba Walker 25 minutes and ran my lineups with that information. Here's what happens once you give Kemba Walker minutes, at least for me. No real change to Julius Randle. You had touched on that before. It hurts his usage rate a little bit, not significantly. We're talking very, very minor difference in projection. Julius Randle still looks strong. RJ Barrett loses out on some usage. And then the other guys where it really comes into play, there's less minutes for Alec Burks. There's less minutes for Evan Fournier. There's less minutes for Emmanuel Quickley. And Burks was somebody that was going to be fairly popular. And I'm curious to see where he ends up now. But once you look at his splits in terms of his playing time coming off the bench versus starter, massive, massive difference. This year, when Alec Burks starts, he averages 36 minutes per game. When Alec Burks comes off the bench, he plays 21 and a half minutes per game. So that's a pretty big difference. If he starts, Thibodeau kind of takes the idea of, hey, Alec Burks plays the entire game because he's a starter, but then for whatever reason, he comes off the bench like, hey, no longer a major piece in the rotation. So just those minutes split, that makes him way less appealing. He takes the biggest hit with Kemba Walker in.
All right. I think that's a great anecdote here with Alec Burks. Again, I can't imagine I'm going to get remotely any at 6,500 over on DK. On FanDuel, obviously the cap, it works a little differently. 6,300, he might get into some lineups, but then you have a 4,900 Kemba, who I expect to be one of the more popular plays of the entire slate now. It came out early enough, 34 minutes. I'm very curious what that ownership gets up to. We will be refreshing constantly. We will be keeping you apprised of everything. But back to my original question, Patrick Beverley, we got that Timberwolves starting lineup. He's obviously in it alongside Russell, Edwards, Vanderbilt, and Towns. How do you look at Patrick Beverley on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, he's fairly difficult to avoid, even though he's somebody who I generally don't love for DFS purposes. He's played better this year from a fantasy standpoint this year. And it's kind of weird that the usage has been there because he's never been much of a usage guy in the past. And then you consider all of the other players that are on this Timberwolves roster, particularly the starting lineup. D'Angelo Russell is competing with for usage, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. He's still found ways to score and get his shots up. And then, obviously for a guard, he contributes assists. He's also one of the better rebounding guards, just in terms of collecting rebounds in the league. So 5,500's generally going to be a little more than I'd like to pay for Patrick Beverley, but on a slate that only has 2 games, the only guards that I end up really getting to way more exposure to than him, it's Steph Curry and Gary Payton on a cheap end. But other than that, he's pretty firmly in the mix for me. He ends up in a pretty big chunk of lineups and overweight to the 31% number on DK. On FanDuel, where he is currently projected for 26.8%, a little bit tougher of a price tag to get to at 6,400. So I wind up a little bit underweight to the field on that number, especially now that Kemba Walker's in the mix. So we'll also, that's something else. Let's see what happens with Kemba's ownership, because that could also greatly change how Patrick Beverley's ownership looks on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's going to change. 2-game slate. Things are going to change massively with this news. It's just going to shift in a way that it wouldn't on a main slate. Obviously this is big enough news. It probably would to some extent, but only 5-10% differences you're probably looking at there. Here, it's going to be gigantic because Alec Burks is going to go from 33% to like 10. You're going to have somebody like Emmanuel Quickley go from 29%. We currently have him 28%. We currently have him to like 15, sub 15. Obviously he's 4K, so I think he'll still be somebody people take shots with, but I'm looking more at this Detroit guard situation. And you talked about the blowout. You talked about some of these other pieces. I do like Cade Cunningham. I'm not sure. I'm updating everything as fast as I can here to see what I'm going to be getting for Kemba Walker. I'm not sure how that's going to affect my Cade Cunningham rostership, but Killian Hayes, Hamidou Diallo, Corey Joseph, Saban Lee, all of these guys, I think are worthy of tournament consideration. Killian Hayes at 3,800 is sub 20%. I think that's fascinating, as is Corey Joseph, is just a completely contrarian piece there. He's been playing mid-20s minutes, and I think anybody playing mid-20s minutes kind of below that 5,500 threshold, or for sure underneath Kemba Walker, at least needs some tournament consideration. I expect their ownership to come down now that we do have Kemba in the mix here too, especially over on FanDuel. But how do you kind of view this Detroit guard situation, which is no doubt cluttered, but could also provide some value in a blowout?
Yeah, but my lineups are rerunning right now. We have some super chats that are outstanding. Let's answer those while lineups up. Did you have lineups that are updating?
Yeah, I was just trying to get everything in for this, and I'm paying attention to any of this news here. Super chats. I didn't see. Oh, there's the one. Do we have one? Okay, Kevin Hughes. FanDuel favorite. Oh, with the OU. That is definitely a Canadian loony guy. Kevin Hughes, you were the man. A favorite play under 15% owned, not on Golden State. Thanks, gents. So we're heading over to FanDuel. We're going to talk about our favorite play.
There were some super chats earlier that got buried also. I don't know if Jordan could find them.
Oh, literally, that would have been, was that at the very top of the show? Because I literally never saw them come in.
Yeah, I know there was one from...
If somebody had this super chat earlier, just throw it in to the chat right now. If you're still hanging out with us here, I will get to that immediately. Just put attention, and then don't put all caps like that one guy was. Just put attention, and I will notice it. But Kevin Hughes, favorite play under 15% on FanDuel.
All right, so my FanDuel lineups just finished running, so this will actually be good because I could compare. Let's see also if we have an ownership update since the Kemba Walker news came out. We do, 2 minutes ago.
All right.
There was a fresh run of ownership. So sub 15%. Who is the player that I'm getting the most exposure to? It is Gary Payton by pretty wide margin. So Gary Payton's somebody else who I gave him a few extra minutes in case of a blowout here. Just I kind of wanted to force him into some lineups because I think that is a narrative to play. He's somebody who could potentially play in garbage time. And, there's been slates this year where we've had Gary Payton chalk, and he's been somebody who it's been on and off for him. There was that one slate where he was a really popular player because a bunch of guys were out for the Warriors and he played like 11 minutes or something like that. We've seen upside from him. The field isn't really getting there. I like Gary Payton on both FanDuel and DraftKings in the blowout narrative.
So he said not on the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, did he say not on the Golden State Warriors?
Yes.
I missed that part.
That's okay. I thought it was a good talking point anyway.
Okay, so not on the Golden State Warriors. All right, so Gary Payton anyway. Boy, it is tough to find other dudes. It is tough to find other dudes. All right.
I mean, I'm not really, I don't know if I'm over the field on anybody currently. Killian Hayes might be the guy at 4,100 just because he's been in the starting unit. He's been playing high 20s minutes. I'm kind of surprised over on FanDuel to see that he's coming in as low owned as what he is. So 4,100 Killian Hayes would be my answer.
I guess Taj Gibson would be one for me. He's so cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings, and Nerlens Noel is out for the Knicks, so he's going to play minutes. Certainly not somebody I love to roster, but he's making it into a chunk of lineups for me. And let's see, he is right now at never mind. So on DK he's 17%. On FanDuel he's 5%. Not the best play in the world, but we're looking at. There's only a few guys that are actually going to play minutes that are sub 15% owned today. And Taj Gibson is one of them that at least we know is going to play minutes.
All right. Taj Gibson, fire it up. Attention. Yes. Well done, everybody. You guys are just so witty. I just can't even with you. Oh my gosh. Just so genius using attention in sentences. I was just kind of referring. I did not see another super chat, Greg. Somebody said, though, that I wouldn't want to read it. So there's at least that. Maybe it was directed at me. So there's that as well.
It's good. Why does YouTube cut out the comments?
I don't know.
Right? Like you just get a certain point where they kind of where they just kind of go away.
Idea. Yeah, I think it probably reaches a certain amount of comments and then it disappears. We'll go back in hindsight. We'll go see once this is over because you can go and look at the chat then. But super chat about the guy who won. Well, congratulations to the guy who won. Let's keep it moving then. Rest of the guard position. Anybody else that really is sticking out to you that you want to discuss?
Let's see. So at the guard position, now that I've actually rerun lineups, you were asking me about. So, I mean, let's talk about Cade Cunningham and the difference between on FanDuel and DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So one thing that is a little annoying about Cade Cunningham in this spot is on FanDuel, crazy underpriced. We've talked about this a whole bunch on these slates. I don't understand why his salary doesn't go up on FanDuel. He's a really strong points per fantasy producer. He's point guard and shooting guard eligibility on FanDuel. He scored over 30 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, but just the price is wrong on him all the time. So he's really incorrectly priced. But at the same time, too, difficult matchup against the Warriors. There's a lot of blowout run. And Cade was playing in garbage time earlier in the year when he first came back from injury. He isn't anymore. So you kind of do need him to be in a somewhat competitive game against the Warriors here. But just considering where the price is, it's really hard to get away from him, even at the high ownership on FanDuel. We have him projected right now for 62% ownership. Point guard and shooting guard eligibility, kind of hard for me to get away from him. By the way, Kemba Walker currently only projected for 2.7% ownership.
Like, give me all of that on FanDuel, sub 5K. DK 6,400. I think it makes sense. I think unless we hear something, people are nervous about situations like this. They don't know what to expect. And, this is just kind of going to be an unpredictable spot unless we get word about a minutes restriction. Again, if we got News God who can maybe update some stuff, I'm taking a look at Twitter. I'm scouring over there, taking a look to see if there's anything that can maybe help us be informed there. But it's fascinating. Donovan and Mitchell concussion protocol. That'll be fascinating. Tomorrow's slate already is going to be madness. I can tell you that much. But What is also madness is how good of a deal it is to sign up for Awesemo Plus. Right now, $29.95 weekly package. That's been the going rate here for a while, but there are a number of ways that you can get behind the paywall with some promotions that we have some other sites. So pay attention. You can get that free month a number of different ways, but $29.95. Our NBA packages right now, $4.95 and 25% off currently with promo code NBA Live. So get 25% off that $29.95. If you want player projections, ownership projections, boom, bust to all of that. NBA player rankings are free today if you want to take a look at that, see what's behind the paywall, as are PGA Golfer ranks and NHL Top Stacks tool. Check them all out. Super Wild is unfortunately expired for you, but 25% off using NBA Live. Stop guessing, start winning. Join us at Awesemo Plus today. All right, I think I got everything updated. I think I do. FanDuel, I have an irrational amount of Kemba Walker if I put in 25 minutes for him. I just took exactly what you said, put him in for 25 minutes, and Cade Cunningham is still going to probably be my highest owned guard over there. Steph Curry is going to be close for second. Let me finish this up.
So one thing about Kemba Walker that at least makes it so I just don't get to unlimited amount of him is that he only has point guard eligibility. Mm-hmm. That is one thing that does make it not necessarily prohibitive to get to him, but some of the other guards that I think are priorities on FanDuel, D'Angelo Russell, point guard and shooting guard eligibility. Steph Curry, only point guard, but he's also in a pricing tier. Just by his own, if you're paying up for a guard, Steph Curry is the only option. Cade Cunningham, point guard and shooting guard eligibility. Patrick Beverley, only point guard. I'd rather play Kemba Walker than Patrick Beverley at this point over on FanDuel. Jordan Poole, point guard, shooting guard eligibility. So the only thing that makes it so it's not that Kemba Walker is in, everything for me is that still a little bit of minutes uncertainty that ends only point guard eligibility.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's jump forward here. Julius Randle, 46% in our last run, 40% for RJ Barrett. Feels high for me at 7,300, but again, it is a 2-game slate. If he goes for 35, 40 raw points, there's paths to him being optimal. I'm updating the boom bust tool, which we got an update 36 seconds ago. That's beautiful. Julius Randle was the guy that was really making sense. 48% optimal appearance rate over there. Still a little bit of positive leverage to be had going his direction. RJ Barrett was 45.3%. Let me double check and make sure that this accounts. Nope, this does not account for Kemba Walker here at the moment, unless we just project him for 1% ownership, which I don't think is going to be accurate. But how do you view Julius Randle and RJ Barrett on this slate with Kemba Walker in that starting unit?
Yeah, so one thing also I want to check is how many minutes did we project Kemba Walker for? Let's see how much different that is than my opinion. And once again, it's just a guess. We don't know for sure what Kemba Walker is going to end up playing, but I'm kind of curious to cross-reference just to see if we've given him something way out of line.
I think Sean Zahn just hit us up. One of the amazing guys, not just great behind the scenes, but like legitimately one of the best players in the industry. He just said that he's rerunning everything. I said, having a guy like Kemba just show up on a 2-game slate, it shifts things in such a gigantic way. You got to be very, very specific because it will change things 15, 20, 25%. Rather than, just one guy that you plug and play and other players just take a little bit of a cut. It's minute differences in ownership. These are going to be gigantic differences in ownership. So I have to really, I got to commend him, like just taking his time, making sure that this gets right the first time, making sure that, obviously I'm just assuming 25 minutes. I'm with you. I think that that's the perfect number to kind of put him in if we don't hear anything. I think that there's a massive range of outcomes where you could get 20, you could get, you could even get like 19, 20, you could get 30, 34 in the event that he's like a full go and this is just a straight tib spot. So I'm embracing the variance. I think FanDuel makes it pretty easy to do it and get my exposure. 6,400 DK less so, but forward, RJ Barrett is the guy who takes a massive cut for me. With Julius Randle being a guy that I still want to get to some of those raw points. And, RJ Barrett has been very, very good of late here, but it's just a spot where I think he's the guy who takes a bigger cut than somebody like Randle is going to.
So the other thing too is DK versus FanDuel, Julius Randle is way different looking. So on DK, I look at it as Steph Curry is the highest priority for me as a pay up option. If I have space for Karl-Anthony Towns, I think you like Cat more than I do. I don't have an issue with Cat. I just prefer Steph Curry. But then it's kind of, if I have the ability to get to Julius Randle, somebody else who's kind of in a price tier in his own as a forward. So he is 9,200. the most expensive forward is him at 9,200. Other power forwards, the next most expensive guy is Otto Porter at 5,800. So it's really hard to not get to somebody at a decent amount when he's just the only guy anywhere near him from a salary standpoint. So I still look at Julius Randle, pretty high priority, a little overweight to him on D. FanDuel is unavoidable. FanDuel, the power forward position absolutely sucks. Mm-hmm. The players we have to consider power forward on FanDuel, and I'm curious to see what the latest run of ownership is because, like you said, Sean just messaged us on Slack and said that it's getting rerun. In the last run of ownership, Julius Randle, the most popular power forward by far. The second most popular power forward was Kevon Looney, which goes to show how crappy the options are at power forward and why, to me, Randle is just unavoidable. At power forward on FanDuel, the options all suck. The only way Julius Randle doesn't land the optimal lineup is, I don't think it's realistic that two of these cheap guys have big games. It would just be Julius Randle plays so poorly that he just doesn't make it in because of a points per dollar sense. And he might even score 30 fantasy points and land the optimal lineup at his price just because the other options are so poor.
I agree. And there's also the opportunity. So I'm getting to 100% cat on DK. I'm not going to get to 100% on FanDuel. Yeah, power forward's terrible, but he also has the ability to swap into the center spot over there. And over on DK, he does not, where he's power forward only. So I think that that's an important point of differentiation just to kind of bring that up for you all. There's some guys that can play the power forward position and move that direction over on DK that I cannot do for FanDuel. So you are definitely right about that. Let's keep going with the rest of the forwards.
By the way, we got the ownership updated, by the way.
Oh, beautiful. Go ahead. What are we getting Kemba for now?
So let's start. Don't look at it. We'll play a game here. What would you guess is the ownership on Kemba Walker on FanDuel and then on DraftKings? So starting FanDuel, Kemba Walker is 4,900. Mm-hmm. Give me a guess on his ownership.
40%.
Lower.
Oh, 20?
Higher.
30.
32.
Okay.
There you go. Kind of split the difference. You went high, low, and then the answer ended up being right in the middle. So now with that information known, where do you think he is on DK, where he is 6,400?
8%.
16.5.
Okay. So literally cut in half. I think that makes some sense. I mean, for me, obviously the 6,400 tag is more prohibitive. FanDuel, I'm going to be over or even 32%. I'll see if the field reacts. It's a 2-game slate. I can't imagine people aren't just reacting and being like, oh my God, I need to play a lot of Kemba at 4,900 on FanDuel. But even still, I've seen a number of times where people maybe just don't trust it when it's a first game back for a guy, rather than him just kind of being ruled in, having, I don't know. It's such an interesting spot. I really want to get over 4,900, 32% on FanDuel. I'm not sure as I'm finishing up everything on DK, if that's going to be something that I'm probably going to be over the 16%, but what are you kind of planning on doing with him here? Anything changing in your lineups?
So I like being overweight to him on FanDuel. That number's lower than what I was expecting. I find it really hard to get to him on DK, though, unless I was to really pump his minutes. The 6,400 price tag, it's difficult to find that much upside in him at that price. But also keep in mind, here were his last 2 games that he started prior to getting hurt. He scored 18.5. I don't know what the hell you just did, but he scored 18.5 fantasy points and 6 fantasy points. 6,400 is a steep price tag. It's hard for me to get behind that. And the ownership is not insignificant on him at close to 20%. So underweight to Kemba for me on DK, overweight on FanDuel.
Seriously, the quack Nightbot. We're going that direction. We're going to troll.
You got bots trolling you now too?
I've got bots trolling me. Nightbot's always trolled me. Back when I didn't have an emoji for 8 months of my hard work. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to get, it became King Quist, then Loser Quist, then Toupee Guy, and Quack and having sex with ducks. I mean, really, there is no chance. I'm stuck at Awesemo because I don't think I have a future employer. I just don't. They'll have to go back and watch a lot of footage to realize I did none of this myself.
Well, no. How? It's just because somebody watches a video and doesn't see you have sex with a duck doesn't mean it never happened. That's not proof.
Rest of the forward spot.
I mean,
rest of the forward spot, Greg. 15 minutes to go. We got to go.
Somebody else might have a document
afterwards here. This is a 2-game slate. This is actually more work than what I was expecting to have here because, that is what it is. Who are some other forwards that are popping in for you? Because like for me, Andrew Wiggins, I'm I'm a little bit below now over on DK. Sadiq Bey, definitely going to be a little bit below 33.6% in our last run there. Anybody that's really sticking out that you're getting to in a meaningful amount of forward?
Andrew Wiggins, I'm on the same page with you, and I'm generally not an Andrew Wiggins guy, but I find him pretty difficult to avoid. Talked about Taj Gibson before. I just kind of like what his salary savings offer. I don't have him projected for a lot of fantasy points. I have him for around 15. That makes him somebody I want to be overweight to the field on, though, when he only has minutes in the teens. I think for these kind of slates, it really makes sense to try to jam in some of the stars that have the most upside. And then you just hope that you could get, 20 fantasy points out of some of those cheaper guys. And Taj Gibson is somebody with Nerlens Noel out. It's possible it happens. I know he hasn't done it much recently. The fantasy production hasn't really been there, but he's playing 17, 19 minutes in the last 2 games. Would I probably wouldn't even consider Taj Gibson on a 3-game slate, but for a 2-game slate where he's the min price on DK, he becomes viable.
It's okay, everybody. I'm all right. I can handle it. I'm a big boy now, kind of. Maybe not. I think I can, but I appreciate everybody. I'm also your favorite kicker of K. I can't say that without getting in trouble. I appreciate you too. So there's that. Jonathan Kaminga we talked about on the front end of the show, because that's really what you do, is you talk about one of the more irrelevant players, except for if there's a blowout, in which case he's very, very, very relevant at 4,300. More blowout risk than normal here. 15-point spread. That is gigantic here. I kind of want to get ourselves to center, don't you? And then we can kind of take some questions, get our lineups in, and get out of here to talk about Jock Market.
Yep, let's do it. Let's dive in.
All right. Heading to the center spot, and we have all the time for Jock Market. I promise we'll be discussing them a ton here on the back half, but massive piece of news came in. Karl-Anthony Towns. I already said lock button on DK. I don't know if I can fall back from that take here now, but I feel even more confident knowing that a guy like Kemba's in the starting lineup here alongside of Julius Randle, who would have been somebody that I'm going to have a ton of. I'm going to be over the field on. Again, Steph Curry and Julius Randle and Cat. Those are your 3 main spend outs to kind of consider. Cat's my favorite because every other center is complete garbaggio. How are you feeling about him on this slate?
Yeah, so here's where we feel different about Karl-Anthony Towns, just to reiterate a talking point from before. If I'm paying up for one player on the slate, it is Steph Curry for me. For you, it is Karl-Anthony Towns, and I'm getting to more exposure with Julius Randle as well. So my priority spend-up options today, Steph Curry 1, Julius Randle 2, although it's Julius Randle 1 by default on FanDuel just because of the position he plays and there's no other options. But if we're just talking about points per dollar, Steph Curry 1, Julius Randle 2, Karl-Anthony Towns 3. It's not necessarily that I hate Karl-Anthony Towns, as some people might think that means, but just I prefer the upside of Steph Curry.
Toscano Anderson 50 bomb tonight? No,
I doubt it. Somebody was asking in the chat if I would. Somebody's asking in the chat if I would wear a Juan Toscano Anderson jersey. Happily, he wins me a GPP. I will absolutely wear a Juan Toscano Anderson jersey on the show. Here's the issue. I'm never playing him again. There's no chance. There's no chance of it happening.
Even in the pool. I was gonna say, is he even in the pool today?
Let's see. Actually, let me see if I have.
Do you have a share? You have to have a share.
Let's see.
3,200 projected for a minute and a half. Come on.
No, because I gave him 0. I gave him 0 minutes today. I don't have him in the rotation.
Yeah, as you should, because he's completely
dust.
Oh my God, $50 super chat. I'll read a super chat for you. Anthony Davis coming in hot. Greg with a lot of caps. Exclamation. All of it. As much as I love Josh, Adam, and Lofty Trio, this has become my favorite combo to end my day. 4 crying emojis. E sets him up, and Greg comes with the haymakers. How does it feel to be in the Ngannou of the Live Before Lock crew?
Francis Ngannou. Good. So, actually, we have a UFC card that I'm very excited about this weekend. I was watching all of Ngannou's old fights earlier today. And one thing I thought was really funny is John Anik is one of the better play-by-play guys in all of sports. But before him, it was Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg. They used to do the UFC broadcast together, and neither of them were really doing much homework for the fights. And it was very apparent. And one thing that was a big change before John Anik got there is Francis Ngannou's name was mispronounced in every single fight. They called him Francis Gano before then, just because neither Rogan nor Mike Goldberg ever cared to ask him how to pronounce his name. But I'm happy to be the Francis Ngannou, and because striking resemblance between me and Francis, clearly, but happy to be him of the program.
Yeah, that it's a good thing to be. Plus money for a dude who just always gets slept on. I feel like this conversation has happened so many times where Francis Ngannou, can he deal with a guy going to the ground? Can he deal with this? Just keep betting Francis Ngannou. That's what I'm doing. But that's just kind of what works. I love this guy so much, but guess I like you a little bit too, if I'm going to make you Francis Ngannou. But let's keep going. Any other centers that you really want to get to in a meaningful way? Because for me, Isaiah Stewart at 4,600 is the only other guy that really makes any sense. Trey Lyles, you can play him at power forward, but I guess kind of goes in the center category. I'm taking shots on those guys. Jared Vanderbilt, not really there in a meaningful way, although, we've seen some upside from him in the past. I just will let other people play him. I'll try to make one of those Detroit guys a thing in their split minutes, but anybody else that you're getting to meaningfully at center?
Center's a position where, I project Looney okay, like 20 fantasy points, but he's 4,900 on DK and he's picking up ownership. Trey Lyles to me is way overowned. That to me is one of the pieces that I like being underweight to the field on the most, because to me, nearly 30% Trey Lyles is just absolutely crazy. I have him projected really similarly to guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Kevin Looney, and I can't see myself getting to a third of my lineups of Trey Lyles to be overweight to the field. How are you handling him?
I'm under. I'm under on him. I'm going the Isaiah Stewart route in some 2 center lineups over on DK, on FanDuel. I think it's okay. I just feel like people are looking at box scores with some of these guys. And when this Trey Lyles, when I saw the ownership on him, I thought people are probably seeing that he's outperformed Isaiah Stewart of late. And I'm just going to get to more Isaiah Stewart. I'm surprised that he's actually gotten closer to Trey Lyles, but he's $200 difference on FanDuel. So I'm going to be going to more Stewart there. And on DK, you're still getting that difference of $500. Although Lyles does have power forward eligibility, I think that makes him even a little bit more intriguing. But Isaiah Stewart, I think, is the guy that just because the field, I feel like these are the spots in 2-game slates that everybody's seen Trey Lyles have some really good results in the box scores. They've seen Isaiah Stewart really not. But the major difference is, they basically are splitting the minutes, and Isaiah Stewart has been a decent fantasy performer in the past. It's like a 0.1 difference. And for me, I'll take a little bit of the discount and go more Isaiah Stewart.
Yep, I'm on the same page as you. And actually, I have, let's see, FanDuel also somebody is really hard to get away from Isaiah Stewart, because look at the other power forward options. Once again, we were talking about before, Julius Randle at top. Isaiah Stewart's the one that I get to the second most on the slate for a couple of reasons. Number one, I kind of like the price point on him. He's 5,500 and points per dollar. Is that great for me? No, I'm projected for 23 fantasy points. No. But relative to the other options, I have Isaiah Stewart projected for more fantasy points than Trey Lyles, and Trey Lyles is projected for 30% ownership compared to 20% for Isaiah Stewart. So a little bit of leverage there that I like getting.
If you had a game stack one of these two for a 2-game slate, which one would you prefer?
Pretty hard for it to not be Knicks Timberwolves when the other game is, the 15 and a half point spread, depending on how it's moved since we started the show, because pretty good chance Knicks Timberwolves stays competitive, pretty good chance Warriors Pistons doesn't. So that's just going to be my answer by default.
Okay. I think that's fair. Just saw a couple people asking that. I'm sleeping on Bielitsa. Balenciaga, no, that's expensive, and we don't want any of that. That's too fancy for me.
Bielitsa is too fancy. Is that how we're describing Bielitsa?
No, fancy? Somebody said Balenciaga or something. It's like that really expensive clothing brand or bag brand or whatever it is. I've just seen billboards in LA before, and I know that it's not in my price range.
Neither is Bielitsa. I thought you were saying Bielitsa's fan. No, I can't afford Bielitsa. He's too expensive for my lineups.
Yeah, I can't afford those 0 fantasy points whatsoever. Guys, get your lineups in. I just got mine in with 6 minutes here to go. I can kind of give you some accurate answers to certain things here now. Let's see. I have no Warriors on FanDuel. SMH, how'd that happen? I would probably get to you can't eliminate a full team on a 4-game slate. Just throwing it out there, Greg. Who would be your favorite Warriors 1 through? Let's take your top 3 not named Steph Curry.
So here's the easy way to do it. Let me look at my exposure for Warriors players. It is Gary Payton, Andrew Wiggins, and Jonathan Kaminga. And remind me of his nickname.
No.
Remind me of his nickname.
My parents might be watching this show. I don't know. Fuck, Greg. Come on.
Whoa, salty talk. You know what's
Sorry,
funny?
I was kidding.
You know what's funny about Kaminga's nickname? That's the same thing that my neighbors used to call my mom growing up. That's kind of funny, isn't it?
This is just
my parents.
insane.
My parents
I
are
heard
definitely
that,
not watching.
Yeah, you're. Oh god,
They don't even know what I do.
Sports analytics.
Yeah, like, when I'm at some sort of family function, people ask my dad what I do. He's like, he goes on the internet. Like, all right, cool. Yeah, that's what I do.
I dance for the money. Yeah. I dance for the money. Oh man, we have half an hour of Jock Market coming up here in 4 minutes. This is a hell of a stream today. They're all hell of a streams with Greg and I. I don't know. I did a stream last Friday from solitary confinement in Ojai. You know, stuff happens. Stuff happens on these streams. It's just how Greg and I roll. 4 minutes to go. Get those lineups in. Otto Porter ownership percentage. He's a guy that we haven't talked about that much, Greg. He's coming in with 23.1% over on FanDuel at 6,900. I am lower there. I will just throw that out there. I literally have none. I just realized I have no Otto Porter at 6,900 on FanDuel. I'm playing 25 lineups, so I think that's sort of thing's going to happen. And over on DK, I have 15%, and I'm just fine with that. Any Otto Porter love today?
So I like Otto Porter in general. In the offseason, I tweeted at the time, like I thought that the Warriors made the best offseason signing from a value standpoint of the entire free agency period by getting him for the veteran minimum contract. But now he's 6,900 and popular on FanDuel. Pass for me. That is way too expensive and too much ownership.
Yeah, it was just a health thing in Chicago. He could never, ever be healthy. And now that he's healthy, we're seeing some good stuff from him. Not enough for me to get to him at 6,900. That is for damn sure. Over on DK, I think you can definitely take a couple shots, though. 15%. I'm not close to the 21.5%, but I see the reasoning if you wanted to at 5,800. Much more in play for me over there. Once again, get your lineups in. Best forward under 4K on FanDuel. What a gross price point to throw out there, because FanDuel, we've talked about how disgusting and horrible and awful and no good and very bad it is. My favorite under 4K. Oh my God. It's not Juan Toscano Anderson. I can't say that. There's literally like nobody under 4K in play for me other than Obi Toppin. He'd be at 3,600.
So what was the parameters here?
Favorite 4K, under 4K on FanDuel. Forward.
Taj Gibson, because he's power forward and center. Oh no, he only has center.
But isn't he more expensive than that too? What is Taj?
No, he's 3,600. He only has center eligibility though, so he doesn't count.
Oh yeah, that's not going to happen for me.
Power forward. It's topping by default. These other guys I know. No, Bielitsa, because we talked about how expensive Bielitsa is now. Fancy is he's 4,300. Yeah, Torian Prince is 3,600. He's probably gonna need to play like no minutes or it's topping by default. There's no other answer.
Cunningham scores 60 tonight. I bet he doesn't. Best, but I mean, I have a lot of him, so I'd be okay with it. Can we book Aton for a private show or a podcast or what? Well, I'm seeing a lot of love for the Aton. 8 Game really wants to see Aton do the dancey dance. Little smoochy smooch. Come on over here.
You got a poor choice. Poor picker over there.
Yahoo pay up Karl-Anthony Towns center only. I'm just going to throw that one out there for you. Gang Green, that's going to be my guy for me over there. 429. We are almost to lock here. I love Lee today. Pistons win. No, they do not. If you think the Pistons win, if that's a take you're willing to put into YouTube chat, don't play DFS tonight and just go put $100 on Detroit money line. That's all you should do tonight. That's it. What are they going for on the money line right now?
Let's see. I'll pull it up. It's also, I'm going to pull, I mean, you know, it's funny. They probably on a value sense are not a terrible bet on the money line just because I'm sure the odds are so ridiculous. Let's
plus
see.
900 is what I'm looking at right now.
Let's see.
That's gigantic.
Let's go to Odd Shopper, right?
Okay.
Because we could find not just any line, Eric, but the best available line.
Look at you. You know stuff. Oddshopper.com, y'all. That is the place to go. I think we need to do another giveaway very, very soon over at Odd Shopper. I think that's something that we did, like the scavenger hunts. We were giving away free months. We were doing different stuff. We can maybe give away some money to one of these sites. Maybe that can be something we do here in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks. I think we should definitely be firing that up. But heading over to Odd Shopper takes legitimately 2 seconds. You go to matchups, you click on it, bang. You look at let's see, money line, click, done. There's a plus 1,050 that's sitting out there. So that's pretty gigantic. So you can see exactly which sports book that is at. Super easy. Minus 1,500 you're looking at is the best line available for the Golden State Warriors. Don't do that.
So first of all, not betting the money line or the spread on this game. If I had to pick one side to bet on, I would take the Pistons money line before the Warriors, but I'm not betting it.
T McBee saying we make up a contest. We can give away a week right now. We'll think about something. We have 29 minutes to talk about our friends, the sponsor of Buy Before Lock. That is Jock Market. Jock Market. Why should you play over there? Well, it's because it's fun, it's profitable, and it's super easy to navigate. It's fantasy sports turned into the stock exchange where you can make money every minute, every second, every hour of every single game that you are watching, and only the best sports possible. NBA, NFL, NHL, PGA, all 4 of those major sports, you're able to go invest. And obviously when MLB comes back, please God, just keeping the fingers crossed. I need Twins baseball this year. But either way, we have all of these markets available. You're able to jump into the pregame IPO phase, which just got over there. I'm going to be pulling on my phone. I got to turn off the TV and go this direction. But you have the free Jock Market projections. The Jordan Klein, the best producer in the game, named Jordan Klein, the voice of Klein, the wizard of Klein, all of those Kleins. Kevin Klein? No. That'd be weird. But either way, I'm definitely just looking at everything here on Jock Market right now. And it is going to be wild here to see kind of what happens with Kemba Walker in the early going, see if there's any of these Knicks that we can get access to. But playing over at Jock Market is super easy. Go download it over at the App Store here now, whether that's Google Play, over at the Apple Store. Go download it. You can buy, sell, or hold shares of players during the game. Somebody gets into early foul trouble, try to get rid of those shares here at a little bit of a decrease. If you want to be able to buy some players that you think are going to go nuts in the, like somebody goes down injured and their backup is just undervalued on Jock Market, snag those shares fast and you'll have the opportunity to make some serious money. Plus, promo code Awesemo gets you $100 deposit match bonus. So $100 to just be fired up instantly there with promo code Awesemo, up to $50 though, 100% deposit match and first market guarantee. So if you're playing in the NBA tonight, anything you lose up to $100 will be refunded into your account. That means you have nothing to lose going over there and depositing and playing along with Greg and I here now. So check it out and best of luck tonight. Let's get to it, Greg. Anybody really kind of stick out to you on Jock Market compared to our projections here right now?
Yeah. By the way, do you want to come up with an idea for a contest?
Oh, I would love to. I was going to say I'm open to suggestions. I was just kind of talking some Jock Market quick.
Let's see. Okay. You get a 15-minute private session with Eytan Shander. What do you ask him to do? Funniest answer. I like that. What do you do? What do you do with 15 minutes? And in 15 minutes, we'll pick a winner. So unless there's something that just is drop dead funny that we find in the... Why did my Zoom just go into full screen? That was really awkward. I'm looking here. 1.2K people watching. Best one, 15 minutes. You get one private session with Eytan to learn anything, to do anything, to find anything, to be not
anything.
Learn anything.
Say that again.
You're not going to learn anything. You might get some. I mean, there's a chance that I don't know. What do you think happens though? Like if you rub his head enough, does it tell the future? You know what? There's lots of things you can do here. Eric thinks I'm the only one. Eric thinks that I'm the only
Greg
one.
Greg won the free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You're so dumb.
What?
I love Eytan. There's a reason that I love going on his show. He is the easiest dude to work with when it comes down to talking sports. He's just like really, really knowledgeable when it comes to just anything that has to do with Philadelphia sports, anything that has to do with the betting lines. He's on the Awesemo Odds channel, which is going to be Odd Shopper very, very soon. So check out.
He's really sharp too.
He's great. God, Greg, you are just I know it's the Odd Shopper. It's the Odd Shopper channel. That's what I just said. It just changed to Odd Shopper. Jordan Klein, don't argue with me. Don't argue with me. Okay. God, back to Jock Market. Here we are. Anything stick out to you over on Jock Market up against?
I just bought a bunch of shares of Taj Gibson.
Wow. That's a great start. That's like me coming in with Cum Bucket.
Well, so here's the way the scoring works. Here's the valuations. If you get him to be one of the top 41 scorers on the slate, you're at least getting something back. Do you know how many players are in the pool tonight?
I believe it was like 40 that I had seen earlier.
41.
41.
So,
okay.
So right away, we're looking pretty decent from that standpoint. At the very least, we're getting something back, right? There's 41 players. There's no way he's not going to be one of the top 41. So we have the fair IPO price for Taj Gibson projected at $5. I was able to get him for $2. I'm happy with that.
All right. $2, Taj Gibson. That is more investment than what his family has in him tonight. More confidence than what his family has in him tonight. I will tell you that much. But I mean, Juan Toscano Anderson's going 41st out of 41st. How do you pass that up for $1.47? Juan Toscano Anderberg.
No, because here's the issue.
I will never forget your conviction on that.
He could score negative fantasy points today. He's probably not going to play. That's probably the best case scenario for his fantasy value is he just doesn't get on the court in 0 minutes, can't score negative.
Yeah. All right, keep going. We have some good ones already. Ask him if Fluffy is really his son. That's not too bad. Keep going. Keep a lookout, Jordan Klein. Again, we're giving people 15 minutes. You can go ahead and have more than one guest or more than one attempt. There were a couple that made me laugh quite a bit here. But regardless, God, it's just incredible.
Forever J-Bomb asked me, how many troll Twitter accounts do I have? One, just my main account. That is the only troll I kind of have. That's mostly what I use it for. It seems to be
all that you need.
At the very least, it's if I have free time, that's certainly my favorite thing to do is just go on Twitter and really get people upset. Patriots fans asking me for my dress, trying to fight me. People get really upset about jokes on Twitter.
It is kind of next level. Again, if somebody gets made fun of for a living, you got to just kind of chill. Everybody needs to chill.
But by the way, can I read my favorite one so far that we've gotten about
yes,
Aton?
Go.
So my favorite one was from Dennis Carter-Karras, who said, I would get Aton to read 50 Shades of Grey in a very whisper voice. That's funny to me, number one. But then number two, he also spelled Aton's name wrong, which also makes it funny to me.
That's so good. Oh, man. That is too good. I'm not turtly enough for the Turtle Club. I see what you did there. I enjoyed that one, but that's not as funny as 50 Shades of Grey. I'm looking at Jock Market. I'm looking at Patrick Beverley, 575. I mean, this is just a wild NBA slate when it comes down to projecting out some of these players. And I think that there has been some massive fluctuations here from our pricing and projections, just throwing Kemba into the mix as the entire slate did. But Patrick Beverley has a $9.20 fair asking price. He's 575. Like these 2-game, 3-game slates, I think are really profitable at Jock Market. How do you feel about Patrick Beverley? 575 for an ask price.
I mean, we have him projected way above that. We have him projected
I
for
just got 3 shares. I feel
9. Ooh, look at you. Fancy.
Bag
This is
alert, major.
Yeah. How about this? This guy's Nemanja Bjelica is too fancy for him, but he's got the funds to spend up for Patrick Beverley. Good on you.
I do.
Yeah, it's hard to not like him at that price.
Yeah, it's really hard not to. That was the guy that, again, just cross-referencing it. Took me 2 seconds. I'm able to screw around with all of you crazy people in chat, hang out. I'm able to go on my phone, see, oh my God, we're projecting him in our fair Jock Market IPO, looking at the fair price for him. He's right around 920. He's going for 575. Bang. I'm able to be invested. I'm going to have some fun here. I need to pull that game up now, though, too. So has that gotten going already?
No. Well, maybe it has. Let's see. It's not showing a score on my screen here, but
nope.
Yeah,
we got Jordan Klein,
no,
the Wizard of Klein, coming in to let us know that he is watching the game in his mansion on the hill in Marina del Ra. Yeah.
Yeah, don't give out Jordan. Listen, why are you doxing Jordan Klein here? So we got Jordan, who people can hear his voice now.
Said where he lived on the show yesterday. What are you talking about?
I don't think he did.
Yeah, he did.
No, they didn't. You're doxing him right now. So people know Jordan. People now know what Jordan already. We had to really pull some strings to get Jordan comfortable enough to come on screen. First, we eased him into it. We had him do the Kmart announcements. Now we've got his voice showing up eventually. Now you're trying to give out his address. Why don't you give out his code to the door also?
Okay.
You got a spare key you could give to people who are watching?
Well, there's only like a million buildings in that vicinity. There's like a extraneous amount of places that he could go. He also has protection. He's a made man like over there on his house on the hill. So you're fine, Jordan Klein. You're fine. Hop on in. Say hi to the people. Producer cam season. Look at him. Just wave. Check in on everybody here hanging out. I miss the Mo Harkless song. I don't think anybody else does. I don't think anybody else misses hearing me sing. How could you be Mo Harkless?
He's also pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, he sucks.
There's no point where he matters on slates anymore. There's a point in time where
how could you be Quentin Grimes? Like, what are we gonna do? We're not playing Quentin Grimes. $1.92 ask price. I do not feel like throwing $1.92 into a furnace today. So that would be kind of the way that I look at that. But Patrick Beverley, man, I feel pretty good about finding some solid value. That's the largest discrepancy I've seen in a long time between price and between being able to just kind of be able to capture some upside here. I feel pretty confident that game stays close. He plays 30 minutes, and that makes me feel good about it. Anybody else for you, Greg, here? Kemba Walker, $5.93 ask price. I'm probably steering away from him on a site like Jock Market today. I'm invested because he was super, super, super low owned there over on what did his ownership end up being over on FanDuel? I think that was kind of the major thing that I wanted to know. My lineups would like to know. 27.2%. I knew it. I knew he would not get. That's low. I knew that he would be lower. I said that. I knew it was coming. It's just one of those things where you just know people get freaked out. D'Angelo Russell, 3-ball to open up the game. That's nice to see. Julius Randle, brick to start off the game. Things you also like to see. Anthony Edwards board. So we're getting going here. D'Angelo Russell, what was he at? 11.08. That is just too much for D'Angelo Russell. As much as I really like him here, $13. There's a little bit of room, I guess, above it, but I'm already invested in my boy Patrick B, and I need that to come to fruition. He's P, right, Jordan Klein? Patrick Beverley is P.
No.
He's P.
Nope.
Yeah, he is. He's on my team now. You only like Patrick Beverley if he plays for your team. You probably
nobody likes. I don't understand liking Patrick Beverley. I do not find him likable at all.
All right, Carlos Manson wants to know, why did ShamWow get excommunicado, which is from John Wick? Why did that happen?
I don't think he did. He just stopped showing up, or he started posting under his real handle.
I don't know. I think Jordan Klein thinks it has something to do with me. I think it might have had something to do with me, but I don't really remember the story.
It does.
What did you
have to do with me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was being a dick one day. I know that, but that's not out of the norm.
He was not being.
It's not like something that's irrational.
He broke chat terms and services or whatever terms.
He did break chat's terms and services. That's bad. Evan Fournier off to a hot start. 5 points right off the get-go. Hit a 3, hit a bucket. That is good. That's useful. I don't know how you would have landed on Evan Fournier, but right now, 777. That's kind of like a slot machine there. He's definitely going to have to be underneath that. There's no way that he was projected by us to be anything serviceable today on Jock Market, was he? Evan Fournier, $6.20. Do not buy any Evan Fournier. Still not going to be getting there. If he knocks down another 3, maybe we could. He just picked up a foul 2 while we're at it. Karl-Anthony Towns makes 1 of 2.
Oh, let's talk about that. Another foul for Evan Fournier, and he has to come out of the game. Well, doesn't have to, but those are the fake rules of basketball. 2 fouls in the first quarter, you come out. Do you know why that's the case?
Because coaches are stupid.
Yes, but also in the original initial set of rules for basketball, it was a rule that if you got 2 fouls in the first quarter, 3 fouls at half, you had to come off the court.
Oh,
it was the equivalent of fouling out for the quarter or fouling out for the half. You still had your 6 fouls to use for the game, but you had to come off the court if you had 2 in the first quarter, 3 in the second quarter. And just that kind of became the way that people view basketball.
That's crazy. What happened, Jordan Klein? What? They can hear you say that? I don't know. Can they hear you say that? What'd you do? What happened? I don't know. It doesn't matter. You're loved anyway. You can go ahead and swear, you potty mouth. You're fine. Looking at Cade Cunningham here, $9.12. That's going to be a fascinating thing to pay attention to. If you're watching Jock Market tonight, or if you're looking at the market, you have to be very sensitive to seeing how players finished in this first game, because everybody gets paid out according to their finishing spot for fantasy points for the night. And the major difference we talk about all the time is that missed shots are worth negative 0.5 fantasy points over there. So you'll see what those concrete numbers are here for all of the finishers in that goal, or in the, Minnesota Knicks game. Looking though at Golden State and Detroit, Cade Cunningham, if that game stays remotely close, $9.12. That feels a little bit low. $12.10 is his fair IPO price. I think I'm going to pick up a share now. I'm going to also just kind of be waiting in the wings to see how that game is progressing. I think there should be a pretty easy chance that as long as nobody completely destroys the slate, Cat can go for that $25 spot. That's the
Fournier could at this point.
What's Fournier at?
Fournier in 2 minutes has 5 points, an assist, and a steal.
What a piece. What an absolute dunce cap. He was the only complete failure in a lineup I had yesterday in that early slate that would have been really, really nice. And I don't know how I landed on him at 5,300 on FanDuel. Absolute fish play, but such is life. 9.5 fantasy points over on the FanDuel machine. Mitchell Robinson, 4 points, 3 rebounds, kind of getting after it. That would be a disaster for me. I ended up a little bit lower. I do have a little bit on DK. Nothing substantial. 12.5%. So Karl-Anthony Towns lock button, that'll do it. But I'm not too concerned yet. It's early. Let's see, 11-11, 8:24 here. We're reacting live as Jock Market is going so that we can try to jump in and get some profit here. Evan Fournier, would you still $7.82? I might get a share of him now.
No, not at that price. We did get some super chats here from Ryan Nelson also. First, he said, you're too expensive for me, Nemanja. That was an Eric
that was me.
Pseudo Eric quote. And then he had a follow-up super chat where he said, Greg fighting Patriots fans on the front lawn? No. Because for some reason people think I owe it to them, where it's like, you had a Twitter take I disagree with, give me your address so I can come show up and fight. No, and it does not make me a soft pussy because I don't want to fight you because you got upset over something I said on Twitter. In fact, the inverse, if you're so upset by something you read on Twitter that you need to travel across the country to fight somebody, who's really the soft one? Not me. But no, I'm not fighting anybody on my front lawn.
Greg just said a funny soft pussy. It was funny. Let's keep looking at the NBA daily market here. I love this. This is just so easy to be able to do. I mean, if I could just have the game on my TV, that would definitely break YouTube terms of services. So we're not going to do that. But as I'm looking at the Jock Market board, I'm able to watch on my laptop, on my computer, wherever else. I'm able to kind of react to anything happening live. We just had Anthony Edwards knock down a 3 here as well. Cat, another rebound. Cat's got 6 points, 2 rebounds. He's starting to go for me. Kemba Walker now on the board with a bucket and an assist. So looking like a really nice start. Another dunk here for Karl-Anthony Towns. He's up to 8 points. Ooh, baby. 100% Cat. Lego.
Add off to a good start. Fournier, of course, Mitchell Robinson. So it's funny. All of the production is coming from 2 guys really right now, at least in terms of points per dollar. Cat on the Timberwolves, Fournier on the Knicks.
Oh, man. Greg based. E-Rush said, meet me in Temecula. Temecula's lovely. It's wine country of San Diego. It's north of San Diego. It's beautiful.
Classic Twitter moment where 2 guys got an argument about, I think it was an argument about Kobe Bryant. And then they just said, hey, somebody said, meet me in Temecula. And one of the guys actually went there and the other guy didn't show up. That was a classic Twitter moment of what's that?
That happened?
Oh yeah. Somebody actually flew to Temecula to try to fight. Who's that guy? Scotty Drippin or something is his Twitter handle. Over a Kobe Bryant tweet. Not anything like the Ravel tweets from yesterday, which just perfect.
Just a clown show.
Perfect.
Clown show. I love it. Clown show. It's so good. He's out of his mind. Jared Vanderbilt foul. All right, 6:58 timeout. We can all catch our breath here for a second. Take a look at anything because, again, this would be a chance to to kind of look at the board. Karl-Anthony Towns, $19.16 ask price. That's going to be a little bit too much for me. Steph Curry down to $16. I mean, people are kind of siding with Cat off to this 10.5 fantasy point start. I don't know. That might be a little bit of an overreaction to me. I mean, if you want to go deposit using promo code Awesemo, $50 bonus when you deposit $50 over there, and you play in this $100 first market guarantee, I would probably use it all to buy 5 shares of Steph Curry right now, because that's a $9 profit if he ends up outperforming Cat. And he's only at 10.5 fantasy points here right now. Julius Randle, absolute floor at 0.5 fantasy points right now. So I feel pretty confident Steph Curry is in a better spot now than what he was at the start of this slate. Would you agree?
We're 5 minutes into the game. Nothing's changed that much.
I'm just saying, Greg.
I understand where you're coming from, but no, not really.
Dennis Porter, you did hear correctly. I was in Ojai. It is legitimately my favorite little town in California. I absolutely love that place. If you ever have the opportunity to go up there, go to the Nest, go get some calamari tacos and thank me later. It is so unbelievable up there. It is just the prettiest place on earth. I love it. Beyond love it. Only an hour and 15-minute drive here from LA with no traffic, which is a big ask, but still, it's my favorite. Go check it out. Tom Thibodeau tech during the timeout. That's always fun to see. What didn't Vanderbilt get a foul? By the way,
Tom Thibodeau getting ejected would be terrible for my Taj Gibson shares.
Yeah, it wouldn't be ideal because you need his boyfriend out there.
Yeah, because there's no other coach that's playing Taj Gibson 20 minutes in 2022.
Especially you look at Mitchell Robinson, it's like, he's actually athletic and good at basketball. I should put him on the floor.
Jared Vanderbilt has a foul. Evan Fournier has a foul. By the way, Fournier, after his big starts of the game, 0 fantasy points in 3 minutes. He's falling apart.
Let's talk a little strategy for late night Jock Market here as well. Jonathan Kaminga, somebody that we talked about at the front of the show. He can kind of be one of the last guys we talk about at the tail end of this thing. Hit the like button too while we're going. If you're still hanging out with us and you haven't hit that like button yet, we would really, really appreciate it. Also, we got to pick a winner. So I'll put Greg in charge of that one. I'll let him pick the winner. I do think the funniest one that I read was probably the 50 Shades of Grey reading. Free week.
Well, he wins just because he spelled Eton wrong in my book.
That was pretty funny. It was the entirety of the sentence. And yeah, it was lovely. So find out who that was and let's get him a free week. But Karl-Anthony Towns steal coming out of the timeout. Man, he is just going to nuke this slate. 12.5 fantasy points now for good old Karl-Anthony Towns, my dude. But Jonathan Kaminga is probably going to have next to no fantasy points in the first half. I hope people start to hit eject if that game's 15, 20, 25 point difference coming out of the third quarter, because I think he is an automatic grab at like sub $4. I think right now he's just not projecting anywhere close to well for us today on the slate. Obviously, he's been a huge talking point of this entire show, but $5.90 fair IPO price for him right now. He is going for $5.22. So you could get him at a 70% discount right now. And I'd be okay with that. But I think you can wait until he has like legitimately no fantasy points at the first half and decide whether or not you want to invest a little bit later. Would you agree with that take?
Yeah. And by the way, also, because people were saying Eric trying to tilt and Greg shutting him down. There's difference between just tilting about nothing and being like, I want to go buy shares of Steph Curry on Jock Market because of what happened in the first 5 minutes of this game. But no, I agree with you on that.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like such an easy kind of way to get a little bit of a leg up on the field there. Kemba Walker, an assist, now up to 2 points to assist, 4,900 there. Evan Fournier, a rebound and a bucket and one. Holy mother of God. Why is Evan Fournier the guy you have to have today? Why would he do this to us?
2-game slate and stupid things happen on a 2-game slate.
I have 0% of him. So close the laptop now.
Let's see. Where am I at?
He's got a bucket here. He's going to be up over 13 now, which is more than he had yesterday. I can tell you that because, again, best lineup would have binged if I had pretty much anybody else at the price range. He was 5,200, 5,300 on yesterday's slate. He had 13.2. Yeah, he's got more now. What a jerk.
That guy's a real jerk. Let's see. I have 3% of Fournier.
I'm looking at Jock Market again. I did buy a share of him, by the way. I thought that was fun. 777 there. 863. I could sell out right now and try to get out of there. There's a 347 bid out there. Good luck getting that to go through right now with his 12.7 fantasy points over at Jock Market. Really helps if you have if you go 3 for 4 from the field here. Oh, 3 ball for Karl-Anthony Towns and now a rebound.
He's up to 11 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal.
Yeah, this was just such a smash.
The Knicks, really only Fournier is doing anything. Well, Mitchell Robinson, 6 points, 3 rebounds, and he got Fournier, 8 points, a rebound, an assist, and a steal. Kemba Walker checked out fairly early, and Alec Burks is in for him.
Mitchell Robinson foul there as well. So we'll see. Minnesota obviously not in the bonus here yet. They've got 3 team fouls here for the Knicks. So just paying attention to everything. Barrett is playing like a stud. I mean, a dud. Yeah, I said Barrett is just so negatively impacted by Kemba Walker existing out there as opposed to an Alec Burks. I mean, RJ Barrett has also seen some irrational rebounding of late. By the way, Alec Burks just checked in, got a board right off the bat. So now our Alec Burks watch starts because, he's somebody that if he ends up playing decently well here, he can always earn himself some extra minutes. But as you said, 21 minutes he was averaging in his non-starts as opposed to 36 in his starts. I think those are also going to look really wonky because there's spots where, teams are so shorthanded that they're going to have to play guys 38, 40 minutes in some of these spots, and it's going to inflate some of those numbers. But the Knicks, I think, have been pretty, I mean, they haven't been healthy the whole time. Every team's had these times where it's changed, but there's a lot of guards there, and it's drastic when he doesn't start because you get Emmanuel Quickley there. They've given minutes to guys like McBride and Grimes in the past. So Alec Burks, let's watch. 591 ask price for him right now as he gets going. Taj Gibson also now on the floor. He just picked up a foul instantly. So that's fun.
Yeah, and let's see, any other fouls? So the player in the biggest difficulty because of fouls is Thibodeau because he's got the technical, so he can't afford to get another one.
RJ Barrett is too.
Oh, RJ Barrett is too?
Yeah.
So this is going to help Alec. Oh, by the way, Taj Gibson's in fairly early now. So there we go. Taj Gibson in at the 5.5 minute mark.
I literally just said that. You were not listening.
Yeah. Yeah. But so no, I was not. RJ Barrett. I'm trying to figure out with RJ Barrett picking up 2 fouls now and Kemba Walker potentially on minutes restriction. How many minutes do you think Burks plays now?
I would say 26 would probably be a good guess. I think that was what I had him projected for anyway, but RJ Barrett will come in midway through the second quarter, and that's kind of how he's heading to the locker room too. So he picked up a second foul and he's going to the locker room. All right. So
like 36 minutes for Alec Burks.
Oh God. You know how horrendous that would be? Just like how run bad that would be to have Alec Burks go completely nuts here in this spot. By the way, he just turned over the ball. Anthony Edwards steal, 8 points and a rebound there for Anthony Edwards. Karl-Anthony Towns 11 and 3. That is nuts.
You know who's going off. Fournier is just going to continue going off.
Oh yeah. Well, I got that share. I might have to get it. What's he going for here now? Because Fournier is going to get all the usage here in this unit. 863 is what he's going for. Somebody just bid 860, so they tried to snag him there at that number. His price went up a little bit more there. Let's see. It's going to get nuts. Alec Burks, another rebound. Julius Randle, another turnover. Julius Randle, this is not ideal for people who have him. 3.75 now. You're almost at the 9-minute mark. He usually subs out here around like the 2-minute mark towards the end of the quarter, comes back in around the 8-minute mark. That's going to be his path to playing 36 minutes in this game, but not a great start there from the other stud in this game.
No, he is sucked. Actually, a lot of players have kind of sucked in this game. Julius Randle sucks. RJ Barrett sucks and hurt. Kemba Walker, fine when he's on the court, but it looks like he could be fairly restricted today. Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett back to the Knicks bench. So maybe just a pee break. From the Timberwolves side of the game, Edwards looks good. Cat looks good. Nothing from Beverly, literally nothing from Jared Vanderbilt. He has no stats, no shot attempts, 1 personal foul. And D'Lo hasn't done that much either.
Quentin Grimes just checked in. Terry McBride said 1.5% on FanDuel. Yeah, I mean, RJ Barrett going to the locker room, that's going to make that happen quickly. I got to say, Quentin Grimes yesterday looked so unenthusiastic to shoot the basketball. It was unbelievable. Looked so trigger shy, and they were down 20. I have no idea what was going on, but there was not anything in the entire universe. Even 1.5%. I guess that's all right. Maybe I'm talking him into 25 points here now, but I didn't really find him like a necessity or like even remotely in play for me on this slate, but I hope it works out for Terry McBride. Cause again, he is the Knicks fan. I feel like him winning the old 50K or 100K over. Yeah, it's 50K today over on FanDuel. I think that would be a really fun deal for him with his boy Quinn Grimes, but that's going to do it for us. That is the Jock Market after show. A good time was had. Greg, any final words for the people?
No, just Dennis, and enjoy your session with Aton.
Jordan Klein is so enthusiastic right now. He's hungry. Jordan Klein, he's ready to go to bed. He's tired. It's time to go. Oh, producer Cam, it's great stuff. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much to Jock Market. So much fun. Download the app. Go get that $50 free first match deposit bonus as well. $100. You can play in any of these markets. You'll get refunded up to $100. Anything that you lose here in that. So it's basically a phenomenal free roll opportunity to check out their product. He's Greg Ehrenberg. Go follow him at G Ehrenberg DFS. I'm Eric Lindquist. Go follow me at Eric Lindquist on Twitter. We'll see you guys tomorrow.